Hello, Miles.
Hello, Brian.
You know, we try to do our best to honor requests from people in the community. They say, "Can you please do this for us?" And then we say, "Well, we'll certainly fucking try." And one of our good friends, JP, has a race to run tomorrow, and he needs this show to go roughly 4 hours, so he has something to listen to the entire time. So my only question for you, Miles, is: are we going the distance? Are we going for speed? Are we all alone in our time of need?
I like that.
Do you?
So what you mean, Brian, is we're going to have to try our absolute darnest to be quicker than normal on a Friday and get it down to 4 hours.
He's not asking for a lot. Let's be fair. This is
okay.
Well,
let's try and get this down to 4 hours. I think we can do this. I mean, it's not as if we have a lot of games to talk about today, right?
Yeah. Hey, Dan Kitty in the chat got it. All right, man. Let's do this shit. This is PSVR GAMESCAST Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Eyes Friday right here on Without Parole. We do it live on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. And if you don't like listening with your eyes, you can watch with your ears. Podcast services of your choice, thanks to our good friend RyPop. And if the live show is just too goddamn long for you, because it is, well then you can hang out and wait for Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry to get the timestamps up, so you can just jump around, jump around, go wherever you want. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And gentlemen, over here to my left, your right, it's Miles Dyer from youtube.com/Miles.
Howdy, Brian. Howdy, Game Cats. It's good to be back in the UK right now. I am wearing a Buc-ee's t-shirt for anyone that's watching on the show. And if you don't know what Buc-ee's is, it's an institution, isn't it, Brian? Is that what we'd call it in America?
Listen, I'm learning right now with lots of other Northerners. We don't. Yeah, like some people have do know what you're talking about in the chat. If you didn't tell me, would not be one of those people.
Yeah, I was told that if you go down south, you got to go to Buc-ee's, which is I think in Texas is the original one. It's the biggest gas station in the world.
They put that on the state flag.
Oh man, I know what people are thinking. Wow, and you were sold on that.
Miles is
my
moving.
Friend Amal, who I went out to see, just said we got to go there, and we did. And to be fair, I was not feeling great that morning, and I could barely keep my eyes open with all the blinding light inside this place. They had so much stuff. They had a massive row of drinks on the back wall that it must have been about 40 fridges worth. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen so much beef jerky, all the different flavors, and they just had loads of this Buc-ee's character everywhere. There's a little statue of him out front. Got to have a photo of him. I feel like I did my bit. I felt like when I went to Alabama, that was the one thing I had to do to make it a worthwhile trip. But just one other thing, Brian. I then came home and I right now am drinking the most British thing you could possibly drink. What do you think it is?
I mean, it would be disingenuous if I said anything other than tea, but I feel like you're setting me up.
No, I'm not setting you up. I mean, it is tea, but it's something more. What could be more British than a regular tea?
English breakfast tea?
Dude, I'd be so with you on this. A friend of mine gave me a cup of this when I visited him the day after I got back, and I kid you not, it's called biscuit tea. It is tea that tastes like biscuits, and dude, it's amazing. And I was like, I never thought tea could get any more British. So I don't know if it's kind of like this pendulum swing. I sort of committed myself out there to the American life, and now I've come back, and somehow I was just like, I need to find my roots. What is it to be British? And this is kind of like grounding me back into the British reality. But
you found you refound your comfort zone.
Yeah, I guess so. It's really good though, dude. Really, really good. And I definitely needed some tea to boost me up tonight because it's been a long day. There's been so many games to play, and I'm really excited for us chatting all about them today.
Yeah. Oh, you got a nice balance going on, man. A really nice balance. Oh, thank you. Sutrab, why can't I read? Sutrabo in the chat says Earl Grey, which is fucking way more British. I should have thought of at least Jean-Luc Picard, but he's not British. He's French. So I feel like Earl Grey has a French association with me. So yeah,
if you look far enough in history, we're all French in some way. I know I'm 1/8 French. Okay. And someone in the chat says you need to explain what a biscuit is. So a biscuit is what you would call cookies, I guess. Mm-hmm. You don't. When we say cookies, we think of like chocolate chip cookies. Like that is a cookie. But biscuits are all sort of the other things. Like I don't know. You have. I guess you just call them all cookies. You just have it as your umbrella term, right? Everything that is. Actually, your biscuits are different. You have them with your like fried chicken, and those are good biscuits. But they're like kind of scones. I think they're like savoury.
Like our biscuits are like flaky, bready. You know, put butter on them. Yeah. They it's a alternative to having bread with dinner. You know, it's like nice flaky, bready biscuit. This is JP. I hope you're enjoying this.
Dude, this is it, man. I'm just trying to give us a little boost to begin with before we get on with the show. So,
that's what's happening. Yeah. All right,
he's already running and going. Oh man, I need to turn this off.
Yeah, I need to turn on some cake and listen to cake, and then have a biscuit. Miles, I think we should tackle a couple of tips here because we do have a few in the chat. Let me see if I can't. Figure out. Oh yeah, no, this chat window is being a pain. Let's see, here it is. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Fifth, what is going on here? Fifth with the Australian $1 tip didn't say anything. FITH. Thank you very much. I thought it said Jim Ryan hates VR at some point, so maybe he changed his name after he left the tip. Not sure. Undead Brondo Cat. I do like everybody changing their names to something Halloween. If anybody has any suggestions for me, I haven't come up with a good one yet for changing my name in Discord or anywhere else. If you got a good horror name for Brian Paul for the Halloween month, let me know. I'm not sure. Undead Brondo Cat with the $2 tip says horror hype. Dude, I'm excited. We got Propagation Paradise Hotel next week, and that's actually somehow the game that's kicking off the Halloween month. Good stuff. Et.2k9.now with the $10 tip says, this is what I sign on to watch. We hope so.
How about Brian Gould? Or Boo Ryan Pool? Boo Ryan Pool? I don't know.
Okay, so
I'll keep trying.
Yeah, we'll workshop this for a while. Awesome Tatum with the $5 tip says, Miles, get that Pure America shirt on. It's crazy, man. It's crazy how different the North and the South are. It's completely different worlds. And man, I tuned into an IGN stream today, and I'm pretty sure that clued me into the differences in America even further. The chat was out of control. Professor Lilith with the $5 tip says, with 6 times the vote of its closest competitor, Walkabout Mini Golf asserts its dominance. Join us in the Sunday Multiplayer 2 p.m. Eastern Multiplayer Meetup. Guys, everybody join the Discord. Click the link in the description below. While you're going through the description, clicking links, make sure you join Miles over on youtube.com/Miles. Click that link, subscribe to his channel. We're going to catch up with him in just a second and figure out what he's been playing and streaming now that he's back.
12 days, Brian, of not playing PSVR2. It was tough. Tough.
Did you have withdrawals?
I missed it. Yeah, I was screaming at night, supposedly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were told in the morning, boy, you scream in your sleep?
Yeah. Why are you screaming Walkabout Mini Golf? I'm just like,
It's funny, man. You live alone long enough, and you just kind of assume that you're like a normal person, and then somebody spends the night and goes, "You're a fucking weirdo." Yeah. And I was like, "Okay, yep, got it." Professor Lilith is just reminding us every Sunday, all the cats get together and play some multiplayer games, play PSVR 1, PSVR 2 games. I see comments all the time. From people saying that they are playing with random people online, and it's just the absolute worst. And I couldn't agree more. Why would you do that when you have an amazing community right here to play with? Do it. So join us Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern for some Walkabout mini golf. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Game Cat with the $5 tip says, "Hey Miles, I've never been, but they are building a Buc-ee's like 5 miles from my house. I just got out of a Cosmo Dread session. Alien Isolation vibes. Love Cosmo Dread. Love Cosmo Dread.
Love Buc-ee's. Love Buc-ee's.
Was there anything at Buc-ee's like unexpected? You were like, oh, there was all these drinks in the back, but like every gas station, every convenience store has lots of drinks. Like, what did they have? Like, could you buy a PlayStation there?
No, I don't know. To be fair, I was so overwhelmed and I wasn't feeling great. I could barely keep my eyes open. I had a headache, so I didn't really make the most of it. But it was just the scale of it. And as I said, I've never seen so much jerky. Like jerky, like you can buy it in like small amounts in the UK. They'll have like the US section and you might have like 1 or 2 packets, different types of packets of beef jerky. They had like 40 different flavors. They love their brisket. Do they make anything there? I know that when I was living in Tennessee, there was a place called Dodge's. It was a gas station called Dodge's, and it was the greatest place to go at 1 a.m. because you'd be drunk, high, whatever. And they had their own like chicken wings, JoJo potatoes. Like they had egg rolls. Like they made all this weird fried food like right there in house, and it was I loved it. Yeah, so, I'm pretty sure where the brisket was, it was all like. They have like a bakery inside bakery and stuff, so it looked good. They make all their sandwiches, had a brisket roll and stuff like that. The other thing when I was over there, Brian, I didn't actually have any pizza when I was out there, but I did see a Little Caesars and I did think of you, and I really wanted to get one in solidarity to finally know what Little Caesars is like. Next time.
Yeah, it's okay. You're going to be disappointed. So, no rush.
But it's like everyone goes, you got to do Taco Bell. I know I didn't do Taco Bell, and it's always a backhanded recommendation. If you got to go check out Taco Bell. Oh wow, is it good? Well, no, but you got to try it.
I mean, I don't think you have to try any of it, honestly. Like it's all terrible, and it's just stuff we've gotten used to, and at least we know what to expect.
I did go to Cracker Barrel on the last day. Is that just a Southern thing?
It's what? It's way more of a Southern thing, yes. But yeah. I've had my share of Cracker Barrel in my life, yes.
It was good.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, people always ask me like, "Will you ever go back to Tennessee?" And the answer is, I don't think they're going to let me back. so it's kind of it doesn't matter. But I don't think I would go back. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Cracker Barrel in their shop had some amazing Halloween stuff that I would have loved to have bought, but it was just too big to take with me. They had like these miniature TVs that were like snow globes with like skeletons on them. Really cool.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see?
All right.
Stuff. But I just I bought a fridge magnet. That was what I did.
Kaba04 now with the 30 plantains. It says, good luck, JP. You can do it. Listen, dude's running right now as we speak in the future when he listens to this. In the future.
And when he's listening, yeah.
It's great, man. People in the chat are cheering him on. This is great. He's going to finish first place. I can feel it.
Much love for anyone that can do a marathon. Like that is that's a tough gig. So yeah, huge respect.
I've done my share of 5Ks, but anyone who does more than 5K is out of their goddamn mind.
When I was 18, I did the Great North Run, which was a half marathon. And I remember my first thought when I crossed the line was, and people do twice this? I was just like, how do people do twice this distance? Yeah, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
The Game Cat Dojo Behemoth, a.k.a. Getting My Belly, Game Cat Wilkins with the $20 tip says, with lots of emojis, pizza, which I think was a little early for the Little Caesars reference, but yeah, that is their thing. Pizza. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Game Cat with the $5 tip says, I'm so down for the long Friday show tonight to make up. To see, now we've set up expectations, Files. We were joking about it being a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually going to be 4 hours. I think both of us
it'll be like 3 hours 45 or something like that, yeah.
Again,
probably.
You're really setting up some expectations here that I don't know if we can live up to.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
He's just got to listen to it twice. We'll do a 2-hour show and he can listen to it twice.
Yeah. Rogue TR in the chat says, I do 10 kilometers 2 to 3 times a week. Show off.
That is hardcore.
Yeah. I used to, dude, when I go to the gym, I go to the gym every single day because I'm the type of person that the first day I don't go, I never go again. So like I have to force myself to go every single day. And when I go, I start every workout with a 5K run. So, you know, rewind a couple years, and I was doing a 5K 7 times a week. It was fun. I liked it. I like running. It's clears your mind. Especially if you have good music. I don't think I could do podcasts because I need like the driving beat. I need, I need My Chemical Romance, The Used, Mayday Parade. I need somebody screaming in my ear, the Pink Spiders. But he says, Macho says, here's my first super chat to set it off. What did you two eat today? Oh, they're really trying to keep us off topic. What did you eat today, Miles? Did you eat anything good?
I had a Caesar salad for lunch, and then I had a pizza. For dinner. Actually, it was like an early dinner, and then I had the final slice just before I got on this show.
I've got a frozen pizza waiting for me in the freezer for after the show.
That was it. I did a frozen pizza.
Nice.
Yeah, that was good.
And actually, for lunch, I had a salad which has all the ingredients of a Caesar salad, except instead of using Caesar, I used balsamic vinaigrette. I had the croutons, nice. I had the Italian cheese, the whole thing. Yep,
that's it.
It's really good. It's really good. Snap. I use way too much salad dressing, man. It's like just been my curse my whole life. Is that like there was nothing healthy about that salad at all.
Well, mine was a pre-made one at the supermarket, so I just had whatever portion they gave me.
Probably smarter than what I do. Jim Ryan, the VR hating game cat. That's the one I was looking for. Says, hi, Brian. I need a job. I can co-host with you sometime. All is forgiven. I unfortunately, if you need a job, I will tell you, without Parole doesn't pay terribly well. In fact, it doesn't pay at all.
Slave labor.
Yeah, for real. Ask Miles, AJ, and Wes what they get paid, and the answer is nothing. They don't get paid. Yeah. They volunteer their time, and that's why you should love them as much as I do, because they're amazing. That's it, man. We're all out of tips. That means we might have to start the show.
Sure, let's do it.
Cool. All right, man. Well, get me caught up now that you're back. I keep wanting to say back in the States. It's like, no, you left the States. You left me and went back. Yeah. What? And
it feels like a long time, just because obviously the show that we did together was not last Friday. It was the Wednesday, because I was flying back on the Friday.
Oh, right.
But yeah, got back Saturday. I was considering doing some gaming at the weekend in terms of like live streaming, but I just stayed in and played Ghost Signal, because obviously we got review copies early, and Ghost Signal for me is just like the most chilled game just to relax to. I couldn't stop playing it. Obviously we'll talk a bit more about that later, but yeah, I did some Let's Plays yesterday, and the two games that I played was I played to begin with Ghost Signal, and then I played Red Matter. I'd actually never played the original Red Matter. I know it was one of the many titles that came rushing in when we were having the final debate about PSVR games, and I was scrambling, and I think the game key I had didn't work.
Oh,
and I just didn't get around to playing it. Sure. Yeah. So I've played Red Matter 2 and I love it, but never got to experience Red Matter. So going into that game was really cool.
Well, dude, we don't need to hold off. We can
sure.
We can absolutely just dive into your thoughts right now. We were gonna talk about Red Matter 2 or Red Matter 1 later in the show. But dude, let's just talk about it now.
Well, firstly, despite having already played Red Matter 2, and I haven't completed Red Matter 2, and it's having now played the first one, it makes me want to go back now and complete the second game with that momentum. But my goodness, the game looks gorgeous. Like, it just, everything these guys do just looks phenomenal. And this is going to sound like a really specific description of like why it looks great. Well, actually, I'd say there were three things I could name. Firstly, at the very beginning of the game, looking around at the rocks, just the geology, just you can see the coarseness of the rocks, you can see the shine, the shadows look absolutely amazing. There's a bit at the beginning where I think there's some lava near you, and the detail is incredible. The reflections on glass, people that have played Red Matter 2 will remember this when you're looking out of the lunar base or you're on a pod. Just the reflections and the textures of glass and metal and everything is just incredible. And then there is a room that you're in, without going into specifics, later in the game, and there is like a rug that is on the wall, just like pinned up. But the rug isn't just flat, it's like crumpled up and it's sticking out. And I remember looking at it, and just when you get enthusiastic about things like that, normally there's a lot of games where there's all this dressing and stuff, and you're like, okay, this is cool, they've kind of made a room. I was just looking in awe at this rug of just how it was 3D and coming out the wall and crumpled, and just what they managed to do is absolutely incredible. So yeah, my first takeaway of the game is it's absolutely stunning.
Well, just to stop you right there,
Yeah.
you're obviously absolutely correct. There's no question about that. Still, it was one of the best looking games on PSVR1, and so it didn't really require a whole lot of improvement. Like, it looks amazing on PSVR2. It absolutely looks like, light years better, but it's still the same environments. Right, they didn't add like that crumpled texture or anything like that. They just upped the frame rate and resolution. Probably I'm assuming from the PC VR version. And so yeah, what you're looking at was really, really impressive in 2018 when this thing launched 5 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of crazy. Like we got games like Resident Evil 7, we got games like this, and we're just like, wow, PSVR is going to be amazing. And we got so few games that really supported that level of detail for years. So yeah, Vertical Robot, absolutely incredible. I think everybody is aware of that at this point, though. I got to say that I am 100% shocked by how your first playthrough went, because I didn't watch, but I saw that you were going to go play. I saw that you posted the link to your stream in our Discord. And I was like, oh, good, Miles is going to play Red Matter. I'll check on him in a few hours and see how he's doing. And so I went to check 3 hours later, and you had been done for over an hour. Your first time through Red Matter, you finished in an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think Looper was in the chat, and it was halfway through where you're in one of the reactors doing a lot of puzzles, and he mentioned like you're getting through this. He didn't say way too quickly, but he commented on the speed. And look, I'm not a wizard at puzzle games. People that watch me play the Room VR will know that it was comical at moments at how much I was just staring at the obvious answer and just not seeing it. And I think what happens with a lot of these puzzle games, a lot of it does come down to trial and error. We were talking actually about a puzzle where you've got to get like these little nodes and connect it to a device, but it's actually on the other side of the device. It actually has the symbols that you need. And you said that you hadn't seen that for ages. Whereas me, it was just like a moment of just thought. I just turn it and go, oh, look, there it is. That makes sense now.
In my head, Red Matter 1 is a 4 to 5 hour game.
Right.
And so when I reviewed the PSVR2 version, I blasted through in probably, I don't know, just over 2 hours, but it's because I had played it 5 times before. I knew where all the puzzle solutions were. I knew what to scan. I knew everything. And so the fact that you didn't know any of those things and you still killed my best time ever.
And I genuinely went in blind. I actually never watched any walkthroughs or anything. I think I'd never even actually watched your review because I didn't want it spoiled. This was a game like I wanted to go in completely blind, and unfortunately never got the chance to. And I also think it was just possibly because I played Red Matter 2. That gave me maybe a sense of like how the puzzles are, like the way, like. Sure. If you know to scan items to get the language out, a lot of it is laid out for you. So I think that's definitely a big part of it. But I do also think I was just very lucky. I also navigated myself around the place very quickly using by the way, the teleportation in this game, I absolutely love. So in Red Matter 2, for those that have only played that game, it's full locomotion and you have a jetpack and it has so much thruster, and it will only recharge once your feet touch the floor again. In this game, you have teleportation, but you actually, once you select where you want to teleport to, you jetpack towards it, and then you can press forward on the thumbstick to basically speed it up. I'm curious to know how that was on PSVR with the Move controllers. Did it work? Did it work like that?
Yeah, it was great.
Fine, yeah?
It was absolutely great. No one really wanted teleportation on PSVR 1. However, it's optional for the most part, except when you have to like kind of jump to places. So it felt fine, and I'm kind of glad they kind of kept it all the same for this. I think my big question for you, Miles, is that you kind of did the thing I don't want most people to do. A lot of people played Red Matter 1, and then Red Matter 2 came out and they played that. When Red Matter 2 came out first on PSVR2, and then we sort of like were suspecting Red Matter 1 was coming, it didn't bother me a lot. It wasn't one of those things where I said, well, you shouldn't play Red Matter 2 before Red Matter 1. But recently I've changed my mind on this considerably, because Red Matter 1 plays so much differently than Red Matter 2. There's no shooting, there's no stealth, there's no platforming, there's no action at all. It is all puzzles from beginning to end. It is slow-paced adventure. Coming from Red Matter 2 and knowing where the game eventually evolves to, or the series eventually evolves to, how did you feel about kind of going back and then doing this one after you'd already experienced Red Matter 2?
I think this is a reason why I haven't completed Red Matter 2. I always felt like it's inevitable. Like, Red Matter's going to come back. But, in reality, I'd rather have just like waited and just played Red Matter and then Red Matter 2. Because, the context of the Red Matter is kind of explained. When you play Red Matter 2, it's a lot more mysterious than the first one. And I think it was very clear that the sense of threat was lessened, because I knew, well, in this game, you don't have weapons, you don't have ways of fighting back. And that can usually tell you a lot about a game in terms of what you're going to be dealing with. Whether, it's, things that, entities that you meet, and how you're supposed to interact with them. So, I definitely wish I'd played Red Matter first on its own. And I'd recommend anyone that's not played either, do them in the order that it's meant to be. There was something else I was going to say about Red Matter, but I can't remember. It'll come back to me.
The fact is, even if you played Red Matter 2 first, I do have to say that like this is just one of those games that was such a pivotal moment for VR gaming, from a technological standpoint, from just a well integrated puzzle standpoint. That, I mean, there's a bundle right now on the PlayStation Store for both games for $40, and right. I'm pretty sure that when Red Matter 1 launched on PSVR 1, it was $30. It was $29.99. And so now the second one is $30. The first one is $20. And so you're saving $10, and then you're actually saving an extra $10 for having waited 5 years to play Red Matter 1. So I do think that you should play it no matter what, but just kind of keep that in mind, is that it feels, even though the atmosphere is similar, it still feels like a different game mechanically. Right. Yeah, for sure. So you happy with your playthrough? You had a good time?
I loved it. It did leave me wondering if I maybe rushed it, but I think it was the opposite, where when you live stream puzzle games, you're just worried about being boring. Like either people know what the thing is and they're like wanting to scream at you, or on the flip side, they're like, oh, this is just you walking around in a room. Like when you're playing a game, you're engaged in a different way, which is you're always thinking about what to do. When you're watching it, it's just like, he's just walking around in a room and stuff. So fortunately, there weren't too many moments like that. I like that you said wanting to scream at you, as if they don't. I'm so glad I had the comments turned off when I played Village, because everyone was screaming at me. Yeah. Fortunately, my Let's Plays are a lot less hectic in the chat than yours. So I think everyone feels a bit more weight behind the words that they say. Whereas if there's just a wall of people, you can kind of get lost within it and just scream at you. But no, everyone in the chat's always been really, really good. But yeah, it was a good time. I definitely want to go back and play it again and get the collectibles or whatever it is for the trophies. But yeah, it was a really good time.
Nice. Let's check up with some of these tips here. We got Blazing Phoenix 82 with the $20 tip in the chat. Says, just throwing some support your way, Brian, for you and your guest, Wes. Little winky face. Two Wise Wednesday right now. Everyone's going to wake up tomorrow and think they have to go to work.
Yes.
Andrew Bailey with the £2 says, Halloween name, Zombies Eat Brian's. Is that supposed to be instead of... Dude, do you know how many people spell my name not only with an I, but also screw up the order of the A and the I? And so they just type, hey, brain,
brains. Oh, that's a good compliment.
Yeah. So it's like I kind of get where Andrew Bailey's coming from here. It's like if you're kind of dyslexic, this fucking says zombies eat brains or brains. Shit.
Brains eat brains.
Almost had it. Friends have Xbox. That's a great name. With the Canadian 279 says, I'd give more money, but I need it for October games. Yeah, dude, save your money.
Yes.
Make sure you buy the games you need to buy. We appreciate your support, though. Very nice of you.
Has everyone got that emergency box with money behind it? Like smash when it's October. Like get the funds out. Yeah, there are so many games coming. I've actually been lining up kind of what I'm going to be Let's Playing every week. And I know a lot of people have been asking about what the first horror game I'm going to be playing is. And I think the first horror game is going to be... do we have a date for... Is it Propagation Hotel?
Yeah, 12th.
Yeah.
Propagation is our first October horror game. Yep.
There we go. Which is going to be on a week... Well, next Thursday. So, yeah, I will be live streaming it next Thursday.
I may be as well. So I would really like to, really celebrate October as much as I possibly can. Everybody knows that October is my favorite month, and I love horror games, horror movies more than anything else. And I feel like every year something has screwed that up. Whether someone dies and kind of keeps us from being in the celebratory mood, obviously, or I remember one year I just got completely burnt out and I was like, I just can't fucking do this anymore. I had 2 weeks of me just like walking away from the channel. It just keeps happening around October. And so this year I want to like be like, okay, like I feel like I've screwed it up over and over and over. Let's fucking do it right this year. And so I do want to stream as much as possible, and whenever possible, I want to stream my first impressions of a game, because as we know, the first time through is always the scariest. So, yeah, I like to document those kind of things because my first time through Resident Evil 7 was like the scariest thing I'd ever done in my entire life.
I watched that playthrough again recently. It's awesome.
Oh God! Well, that wasn't even my first time through. No, was that my first time through?
Well, the live stream you actually started from the just after the dining room table scene.
Okay.
Because you said, I think you'd already played it once, and you were like, yeah, we're not starting right at the beginning. We're starting about half an hour in when you first have Jack.
And that wasn't even live. That was when I was still doing like pre-recorded gameplay videos. Yeah, I wasn't like confident. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I'm like, I don't know what to talk to people about while I play games.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, the answer is anything.
Yes, that is the answer.
Now let's try in the game feline with the $5 tip. Says, I consider the way you spell your name to be the correct way, Brian. Not biased or anything, I swear. Yeah, us Ryans and Brians with Y's have to stick together. It's true.
Can I also give a shout out, Brian? I actually listened earlier today to your Foglands developer interview with Sam Warner.
Oh yeah, what a great guy!
Awesome. Huh? Oh, yeah, awesome. Such a great conversation, and I love that you are you ask the hard questions, but you do it in a really like nice way, like which is what you want, like whether it's about frame rate, price point, things like that. And Sam was totally like, yeah, let's talk about it. So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, check it out. If I wasn't excited enough already about the Foglands, I really am now. Even talking about the flat screen or first person FPS mode that they're doing. But yeah, it's a 35-minute conversation. Actually, I've got 5 minutes still to listen to it, but yeah, it's on the channel and it's really, really good.
I think it's pretty clear that both Sam and I were both on another planet for about 3 minutes of that entire discussion, because I said, what frame rate is it going to be, and do you use protection? Fucking wrap it up, you guys.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
No, I said, do you use reprojection, and what frame rate is it running at? And so I completely spaced, and I think he spaced too, because he said it's running at like 75 or 72 frames per second or something like that with reprojection. And like, I just let it go. Like I didn't even hear that until I was editing and was like, whoa. I feel like maybe I should have stopped him and been like, that's not a native frame rate on PSVR2. That sounds like something on Quest. So yeah, I think we got some of our facts mixed up there. But dude, I will say Sam Warner is one of those game directors, developers who you just love talking to, because it doesn't matter what the question that you ask him is. Whenever you're done your question or your sentence, he takes it and runs with it and just talks for like 2 minutes straight and gives you so much information. And he seems like a really nice dude as well. So like, I hope the game turns out well, because these are the kind of people that you root for and that you.
That's it.
But no matter how much we like them, no matter how much Foglands might intrigue us, we do not pre-order. We do not care about a 10% discount. Guys, save your money. There's enough games coming this month. There's no reason to pre-order. You're saving $3.50, but you might be pissed off that you spent $35 if the game is not ready for launch. So, yes, Tatum in the chat says no pre-orders. Wait for the reviews. I agree wholeheartedly. Macho, the real estate procrastinating game cat says, let's imagine. He's got hands in the air with rainbows. I'm feeling very John Lennon right now. Imagine there no heaven. What if time? Oh no, that is what he wrote. What if time? What if Sony's? Oh, what if time? Okay. What if time? What if Sony's new CEO required every game developer company to have something for PSVR2? Could be a game or a hybrid. Listen, or a hybrid level. I would love if whoever, I would love if Shuhei, who's out there talking to every indie developer, he's kind of like the head of indies, was saying, listen, and I hope he's doing this. Your game seems perfect in VR. Seems like a perfect game to be converted to VR. Why wouldn't you be doing that? Why wouldn't you be trying to get everybody on board as much as you possibly can? Hey, we'll throw you an extra $100,000 to make sure that this gets a PSVR2 mode or way to play this game. What I hope doesn't happen is what we saw with Project Wingman, what we're seeing with Quest 3. We keep here. Project Wingman launched with 6 levels. We didn't get the campaign in VR. And then I see all these commercials for Quest 3, or I see different developers pimping the Quest 3 versions of their game, and it's like these silly mixed reality versions of their game. It's like, oh yeah, I totally want to play Broken Edge in my living room. Not really. I mean, I don't personally. But, and so, what's the benefit of getting a Quest 3 mixed reality? Well, that's what they're really pushing right now. These are the things I don't want. I want full games in VR looking as good as they possibly can. And so I really hope, despite what happened with Project Wingman, is that's the route that Sony wants to go down. We've known that they want to support this hybrid model for a long time. We just really haven't seen the fruits of the labor yet.
I know this has been touched upon on many of the shows before and by people in the community, but to make the point even blunter, I would love to see Sony back a studio like Blue Point Games, who built their reputation remaking, Demon Souls, or I think they did the Shadow of the Colossus. That was it, and then they've been acquired. I would love there to be another studio. I mean, we are seeing them happening that are helping port games. I would love Sony to say, we've got a first party studio that their mission is to bring games into VR, big IPs into VR. I mean, in some ways you could say, well, Firesprite have been a part of that, but obviously they're working on their own IPs as well. That's something I would love to see. Or
not even maybe a team that does things internally. Maybe a team that Sony sends out and says, hey, these people are really, really proficient in taking games and bringing them into VR. Let us send them to your studio after launch. Because as we've talked to plenty of developers about this, and every developer comes back with the same exact response, saying the weeks leading up or the months leading up to launch are fucking insane. Like, we don't want anybody there that doesn't need to be there. So let these people get their game out on the flat screen, get it out on Steam, get it out on PlayStation 5, Switch, whatever you're doing. And then post launch, once all the patches have been issued, White Moon Dreams was kind of like this team. And they haven't been used quite this way for quite a while. But send this team out to these studios and help them at least get started on a VR version of their game, funded by Sony.
I do think it's also going to be helped as we transition to a world where more and more games are being made on the new Unreal Engine, Unreal 5, because it has been expressed that there is a lot of great VR functionality in there. Yep. And from the seamlessness, and I speak as someone who isn't a dev, so devs can definitely step in the chat and say I'm wrong, because things are always a challenge, even if they are made easier. The impression I get is it will have never been more feasible. I'm not going to use the word easy. We're moving into a world where it will have never been more feasible to make flat screen games have a VR port, because of the Unreal Engine. But we'll wait and see.
Since you brought up the Foglands thing again, I will say that one of the things that I think might have gotten past a lot of people about Foglands was how much Sony's been involved in the development of this. And
right.
I think it's easy for people to say, well, no big deal, who the fuck cares? But Sony came to them and said, this is like, we have a lot of belief in what you're doing, and obviously, it helped the project a lot throughout the years. Now, this isn't a PlayStation VR2 exclusive. This isn't a PlayStation 5 exclusive. This is coming to Quest. This is coming to Steam. And so this is just more proof of how much work Sony's doing behind the scenes for VR that we just never hear about. And so I just want people to keep that in mind, because when people say Sony's not doing anything for VR, and then we point to the obvious, we point to Horizon Call of the Mountain, we point to the obvious, we point to Gran Turismo 7. These are first-party games. And then we point to the somewhat less obvious, the Resident Evil 8s and the Resident Evil 4s that Sony paid Capcom. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. Millions of dollars to bring over to PSVR2. These are the ways they're helping. And then we point to the even less obvious Song in the Smoke that only came to PSVR2 in its enhanced version, which is actually technically an exclusive version of the game, only came over because Sony paid them to do it. And then here we are with the least obvious way that Sony is helping out VR in supporting PSVR2 by supporting developers that are bringing their games to multiple platforms. You would never expect this to be the case, but that's exactly what's happening. And I love it. We got a couple more tips. We got Jim Ryan, the VR game hating game cat, with the Australian $5 tip. Says it was the most reluctant I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
He says, everyone pre-order. I need retirement money. I'm so glad you're here, Jim. AJ's here with PSVR Underground with the $2 tip. Says, hi, Brain. Hi, JA.
Hey, AJ.
Zippy's the No Man's Game Cat with the 20-sec row says, pre-order, but do not download before the review, because then you can get your refund if things go poorly. That's true. That's such a weird way to go. Sony should absolutely do something similar to Steam. If you play the game for less than an hour or two, yeah, no question about it. Refund policy. Good stuff.
Well, I'm going to be needing a refund for Beat Saber, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that?
Should we talk about it now? I was just looking at the list. I thought this could be a way of doing it.
Let's do it.
Beat Saber, did it come out today or was it yesterday? I think
there's
no one knows. Blur.
There's no way to find
But we
out.
now have a new Linkin Park / Mike Shinoda DLC. Mike actually posted.
Sorry, I don't know the history of Linkin Park. I didn't know that Mike Shinoda was one of the founding members. I had no idea what this is about. Can you kind of fill in the blanks a little bit here?
Sorry, it cut out when you said fill in the blanks. Your actual sound cut out. So I was gonna ask what the question was again.
Yeah, I can just fill in the blanks. Like, so Mike Shinoda was there from the beginning of Linkin Park, right, with Chester.
Yep.
And but he's continued doing music after with Linkin Park, or just on his own. Like, how is that? Yeah.
He's also been a solo artist, even as Linkin Park were performing. I think he was in a band called Fort Minor. Was one of them. But yeah, he went ahead. Actually, and one of the Fort Minor tracks are on the on this DLC. Remember the Name, featuring Stoles of Beyond, which is a great track. But yeah, he when Chester passed away, he then went away and worked on some solo stuff. which was great, and obviously has had to process a lot of it. But he's been in Linkin Park since the beginning. I think when you look at the behind the scenes of Linkin Park in the studio, people don't realise what a powerful force Mike was, because he was literally producing the band. He was like writing a lot of the music. Obviously Chester was a brilliant voice in that, but you can tell that, Chester had this raw talent, and Mike was definitely the one that gave him focus and sort of brought it all together. And so when they actually collaborated and worked with Jay-Z on Collision Course, Mike was in the studio with Jay-Z, producing stuff and working together with them. So although they were like one of the biggest bands in the world, even back then, at their age, and it all happened very quickly over a couple of years to see Mike have to step up to Jay-Z, and I just had a lot of respect for him. So and also one of the Jay-Z tracks is on this DLC as well, the Numb Encore track. The other tracks that are on this DLC are More the Victim by Linkin Park, Lost, and Fighting Myself. Those three tracks, I believe, are all a part of the Meteora 20-year anniversary album edition of the album, which was their second album. Lost in particular is a song I absolutely adore, and I got to play that earlier and loved it. And then they've got a few of Mike's own tracks, In My Head, that he did with Kaylee Morgue. And
which was
Already
good.
Over.
I actually was surprisingly really liked that one when I was playing through him today. That was a good one.
Oh, nice. And Already Over, which was like his first single, which came out this week. He did a post on Linkin Park socials about it.
And every time you lose in this track pack, instead of saying you lose or whatever, it says Already Over.
It says what?
It says Already Over on the screen.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
amazing.
Instead of saying you lose or whatever it normally says.
I think he mentioned in his blog post that like he picked up one of the guitars that he played when he did some of the Linkin Park tracks. I don't want to name them. What was the one that he did for Transformers?
No, yeah, you're not going to get
All I've Done.
Okay.
What I've done.
Oh.
I think it's the guitar he played on that. So he says there is some DNA in there with the sounds. And then they've also added Crawling from Hybrid Theory, which was a track I definitely felt was missing from the Linkin Park. I mean, to be honest, there were so many tracks with all these DLCs. The DLCs have always got a good mix, but you're always like, this was so good. I wish they did this track and this track.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm always interested in the environments with these DLCs. The DLC definitely feels like the Linkin Park one. It has that kind of tunnel, but it's definitely got a modern flair to it. I believe it's got like the sort of the sound bars that you would see in the studio down the left and right side. That's how I would define it. And the mapping. I just love the distinctive mapping styles they do for these DLCs. Like they have this kind of this language that is quite specific to those DLCs, and I think they've knocked it out of the park again with this.
I'm with you with one minor exception. The minor exception is that I struggled. Like, so when the first Linkin Park DLC came out, I was still very well practiced in Beat Saber. I had been playing, frequently, and it came out. I was like, okay, good, more songs to play, but in genres that I actually like. This is great, and I struggled a lot beating them on even just Expert, never mind Expert Plus. I blasted through this track pack today on Expert. I lost a couple times, but it certainly the mapping is so much easier on Expert level, and so I think that it seems like it was purposefully tuned down. I don't know if they got complaints or what they might have gotten, but this was significantly easier than the last track pack on Expert.
Yeah, the Linkin Park DLC I found was one of the first packs where I was like, you literally got to play a difficulty lower than you normally would because of the way the rudiments were. Geisen in the chat says also new mapping for the first Linkin Park pack, which is great. They're doing this at the moment. They're going through a lot of the DLCs and incorporating the new mechanics. So I'm not even going to get the names right of them, but you've got kind of like the spinal pieces, which are like the sort of the lots
chains.
of slices. Again? Chains, thank you. Chains. And then you have, I don't know what the name of the... I'm just going to give them a really... And the arcs, yeah. Where
I could be wrong. That's what I remember being, but the chat probably knows.
No, that sounds about right. I'd love to hear from the chat, and also if anyone's watching this on replay, to let me know in the comments section below. But as we went into this section, I mentioned about wanting a refund.
Right.
There has. I'll quickly explain the issue I've had with this, but then I'll explain the broader problem with Beat Saber since it came to PSVR2. When I went to buy the DLC, I already own the Linkin Park DLC. And on the PlayStation Store, it gave me 2 add-on options. One was £7.99, and one was £17.99, I think it was. And I thought, I want the main pack. I'll do £17.99. And then I looked at what I had, and the Linkin Park and the Mike Shinoda Linkin Park times Linkin Park section had new banners on the thing. So I thought, but the Linkin Park one didn't look new. Obviously, what Geisen has mentioned, now they've updated it.
Right.
Basically, I paid for the original Linkin Park DLC, even though I already owned it. And you're thinking, why is that? There has just been this weird thing going on because Beat Games had to come out publicly on the day that because it was a shadow drop. They just suddenly dropped it and said it's playable right now. And the issue mainly came into the fact that you had to, I think you had to download the PS4 versions, then you could get the PS5 versions. But where things got really difficult was where they'd updated, let's say, Imagine Dragons or Fallout Boy, where they've added a few tracks. So what you could do is on the PS5, I could go in and buy those tracks individually at $2. But it's but I just want to buy the bundle, but I own most of the bundle already. So they basically said, I think it was something like, if you get the PS4 version, you'll just be charged the additional few dollars for the remaining tracks. Yeah. But it was always offering you to pay the full price again of, $10 or $15, to re-buy all the tracks that you owned already. And that clearly hasn't been fixed yet. I don't think that is a Beat Games issue. I think it's a PlayStation Store issue, because obviously this is a very unique situation. But it's caught me out here. We were talking about, as long as you don't play a game, you can get a refund. I'll be curious to see. Look, if they don't give me a refund, I'm happy for Linkin Park and Mike Shinoda to take my money. But I do worry for people out there that, aren't in the conversations that we're having and are this could happen multiple times with different packs. I think it's a real mess how you buy DLCs for Beat Saber. Again, I'd be really curious to hear from the chat if anyone else has experienced anything similar or knows about this, and what your thoughts are on the DLC, Brian.
I mean, I love the DLC. I obviously didn't suffer any of the issues that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a great time with the DLC. Loved the songs. I thought the songs were surprisingly good. I didn't know how it was all going to go down. As much as I enjoyed the last Linkin Park DLC, it just wasn't really an album I was familiar with. It wasn't a band I was familiar with. And after Chester passed, it was. I hate being one of those people that just kind of like the Johnny Come Lately that says, "Oh man, I love Linkin Park." It was almost like I purposefully didn't get into Linkin Park after Chester passed, because I was like, well, I'll just be a poser, which is kind of a really silly thing to say, but I think that gets inside my mind a little bit and tells you just how.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, Brian, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I will say, back in the day, this story is totally irrelevant. So let's fucking stretch out the show a little bit longer. I remember when Soul Asylum, Grave Dancer Union came out, and when Nirvana Nevermind came out. I mean, just name all of these albums, the big first albums by all these different bands, and then I'd go to Newberry Comics and immediately go to the section and see Soul Asylum, and go, look at this, there's 7 albums prior to Grave Dancers Union. This is crazy. And then you're try to become the bigger fan than your friends, and that was a pointless mission for Soul Asylum. But for Nirvana, it was great, because I was Bleach, I hadn't even heard that there was another album. And this would be pre-internet. And so there was this kind of thing. There's this drive to be I love this band. I need to love them more than anybody else. And as I got older, I kind of recognized what a fraud that makes people look like, say, oh yeah, they're suddenly famous. Now I'm their biggest fan, you know? So, but meanwhile, there were people in my high school that loved Bleach before Nevermind came out. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I didn't appreciate Nirvana until Nevermind came out. So I didn't want to be that person with Linkin Park.
That's fair enough. Yeah. It's always that thing about wanting to come at the right time. But the reality is, whenever you can enjoy the music, and I mean, Linkin Park have a very special place in my heart just because they came at a time. They were one of the first two bands that opened my mind to metal. I actually remember viscerally buying Hybrid Theory. I think I was on a French trip or a German trip with the school, and we had like speakers on the coach, and we were playing. And Paper Cut, the opening to the first track on Hybrid Theory, that first album. Mm-hmm. Paper Cut still for me is one of the greatest songs of all time, because the way it starts and like the singing towards the end, it was like we're entering a new age of music here. It was just absolutely mind blowing. And I don't know if you know this, Brian, but Linkin Park, their debut album, Hybrid Theory, is the biggest selling debut album of the 21st century.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's incredible, because that's a heavy album. Like it's heavy. They completely changed the game. Some people are asking if they still did good music after Meteora. After Meteora, I didn't really keep up with their albums as much as I did. But they've always done great music. Actually, Minutes to Midnight, I think they had like a 8-minute song called "The Little Things Give You Away," and Chester's voice at the end of that. I actually saw him perform that live at a festival and blew me away. They've always done great tracks, and as sad as this is to say, me, like many people, I didn't hear their last album, One More Light. Their music's always been very powerful because of the subject matter, but because of what happened to Chester, it's moving as music as it is, but it's even more powerful now. And One More Light for me is one of the most beautiful songs ever. And unfortunately, because of the context of what happened with Chester as well, it's even more powerful for that reason. So I just love that as gamers, we get to keep living the music, experiencing it in these different ways. And I like that the legacy of Linkin Park, it wasn't just a one-off. Their first DLC was great with Beat Saber. And Beat Games in their advertising have done this whole thing where they're showing like social media comments saying, oh, we want more Linkin Park. So it's kind of like the demand was there and we made it happen. And
where's Panic at the Disco, Beat Games? Right. What do we get? Where's more Green Day, Beat Games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Actually, we did get more Panic at the Disco, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, they added a few tracks.
Yeah. I could use a few more Green Day. Like a lot more Green Day. Like 20 more Green Day. Yeah.
But also what was interesting in this year, Yaroslav Beck, who was the founder of Beat Games, and he actually wrote a lot of the music on the original soundtrack. He left Beat Games, I think at the start of this year. He's now doing his own non-profits and stuff like that. And it's clearly just a thing where when you're, a business owner and you start stuff, like he enjoyed doing the music at the beginning, getting it. Beat Saber is at a point now where it just runs itself. It's established. People know what it is. And they've had the biggest artists in the world now, from Lady Gaga to Queen to, Panic at the Disco, all these different genres. Like, there's no question now. There's no artist that you can't imagine having an official launch on that game now. They've absolutely nailed it, and so I can understand how he's left. And I think it just kind of solidifies the fact that anything's possible on Beat Saber, and I'm excited to see what comes next.
It's funny because, music is so personal, and everybody in the chat has been kind of saying the same thing and kind of, spouting their favorite band or the music that they hope or their favorite track list. And the difference between people's comments is just, it couldn't be more night and day. But I'm so happy that Beat Saber exists because, as Stu Anon in the chat says, Imagine Dragons is my favorite so far. And dude, Imagine Dragons was not a band I cared at all about I didn't know
Same.
really any of their stuff. And then that came out and I just fell in love with every single song, mostly because that was sort of my training grounds to be able to play Expert Plus songs, because those were some of the easiest maps out there. And so to build my confidence, I played the crap out of those. And so, and then I kind of, during that process, fell in love with those songs. And so, yeah, I think this is all amazing. And as Hippie Pickle in the chat mentioned, I would pay an infinite amount of money for a solid 20 track pack of MCR. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's that will be what will get me back into Beat Saber for a significant amount of time. It's fun jumping back in and checking out these packs, but I don't think I'm at the point right now where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to master all of these. I need to be able to do all these on Expert Plus. I'm just not there right now. But but everybody's got their own track pack in their head that they say, I'll buy Beat Saber when this music pack comes out. I will spend time with Beat Saber. I'll get back into Beat Saber. I'll get away from Synth Riders when this pack comes out. And so Beat Saber has a long life ahead of it because we all have our own desires like that. So looking forward to seeing what happens next with them.
Beat Saber is a system seller for me for the Quest, any of the Quests, because of the fact you can play custom tracks. Obviously, when my band had our last album come out, we had someone from the community make a Beat Saber map for one of our singles. And this is the funny thing, I've never played it. I've never played it, but I got to see people on Twitch playing it. And it was amazing to see this system where what you do is you upload to this system your map and the song, and it comes with a code. And so you can go to these streamers and you just say, this is the code. They put it in, it downloads it instantly, and they can play. And it's anything from like music from the latest commercial or meme to like latest tracks. Obviously, most of it totally illegal, but it's kind of this celebration of music. And so I would still be, I would consider getting a Quest just so I can play, as you say, those dream tracks, because the truth is they're out there. There are people like you who are fans of those bands, have a lot of time and have actually put the love and care, not just in making cool maps, but they make like the environment. So some of them tell stories where like the environment is changing as you're going through the song. And some of the stuff they do on there is just absolutely incredible.
That makes me want Pink Floyd The Wall, because I want
that
story to be told while I'm going through the album. TJ Perry in the chat with the $5 tip says, I would pay an ungodly amount for a Korn or Slipknot Beat Saber music pack.
God, Slipknot would be brutal.
Metal.
Yeah. Freak on a Leash would be good, especially for the scat bit at the end.
Dude, I had a Korn phase. I had a Limp Bizkit phase. It was like 1 year in college. I don't know what it was, but because there was like a rivalry between those two bands, and I remember getting really into that, and then like listening to one made me want to listen to the other, and so I got into that for a year, and then have not listened to Korn or Limp Bizkit since. Like, but it was an interesting year. My roommate must have fucking hated me. Pinky and the Brian with great fucking name. With $2 tip says meow. Meow to you, my friend. Meow to you. All right, man. Well, this isn't the only music game we played today, strangely enough. I know Aceville in the chat is going to be clawing through the screen right now because he's going to want to participate in this. But Pistol Whip is bringing in the season with some horror themed or Halloween themed
Halloweeny
tracks. Here, let me bring it up.
Elixir Madness, right?
Elixir Madness. Yeah, man. Did you get a chance to jump into this?
I did. And this feels like I should have maybe asked this before attempting my homework. At the moment, they've only released one map, haven't they?
Yes.
So there's 2 more to come.
And that also surprised me because I also wasn't paying attention, and I figured we'd be getting in and talking about 3 of these things today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting in and seeing that there was only one, I was like, well, I'll be coming back to this at least 2 more times. I'm assuming this month, right?
So this is a collection. So in Pistol Whip, you have kind of 3 types. You have like levels, which are individual pieces. You have the campaigns, which are those big epic pieces where it's consecutive. But yeah, exactly. And then you've got collections, which, to be fair, I haven't actually done their first collection. It was the first time realizing that they even existed.
Oh, so this is a collection.
Yeah, Elixir Madness is the collection, and there are 3 parts of it that are going to come out, as you say, I assume through the month. Now, so the fact I've not played the other collection means what I'm about to say might not be true, in which case I totally apologize. But what I loved about this was there was a lot of interaction with the environments.
Yes.
Which I don't think has been done before to this extent. What do I mean by that? So on Pistol Whip, for those that haven't played it, it's a rhythm shooter. You're going forward just at a certain pace. The environment flashes to a beat to help you, because you get points firstly for hitting the enemies that come out at you, but also for hitting on the beat. So the closer you are to the beat, the higher the score you get. And they do have a pretty good aim assist. So as long as you're shooting in the rough direction, it's going to hit, although there is a modifier that is like, so it's perfectly calibrated if you want a bit more of a brutal time. And some of the environments in this, at the very beginning, you approach a gate and there's a big red padlock. I actually don't know what happens if you don't shoot it. I assume you take damage.
Yeah, I guess I didn't try to figure that out either.
Yeah. So you shoot it and it comes apart. There are like red doors that you have to shoot multiple times. But then there are like parts of the environment where enemies are like standing on like the roof section, and they're heavy armored enemies. So you can take them out normally, but you're going to probably run out of time unless you're super quick. And probably is actually how you get a higher score. But you can shoot like the red tiles they're on and then it collapses. There's bits where there's bookshelves that swap around. I really enjoyed it. I will just say Pistol Whip is a game that I do really, really enjoy. And for some reason, I just never feel compelled to keep going back and playing it as much as I feel I should.
Yep. Every time that something comes out like this that I want to check out, and I get in there and, update my game because I haven't played it in, months. And then I get in, I'm like, this is so much fun. But yeah, it's just like Synth Riders for me. When I'm not playing Synth Riders on a regular basis, when I'm not playing Pistol Whip on a regular basis, I forget how much I like it. And then I'm sort of forced to convince myself, I got to go do this for GAMESCAST. And I get in, I'm like, why am I not playing this every fucking day of my life?
Yes.
And I do agree. This is, it sounds like you and I have been away from Pistol Whip for the same amount of time. So I'm sure somebody in the chat can correct us if we're wrong. But yeah, the interactive stuff was great. Having to shoot down doors, being able to shoot down columns that fall on a row of characters so you don't have to shoot them. It was all great. And it actually had me looking around and almost disappointed that they didn't go further with it, because there are massive chandeliers in some rooms.
Yes.
And I was like, why can't I shoot down this chandelier? There's so many enemies right below it. But so satisfying, and I love it. It's traditional haunted house tropes that they used in this. This one's called Halloween Path. I'm glad that this just happens to be up on the screen. But it makes me wonder what they're going to do with the next two, because this seems so, I don't want to say generic, but as far as Halloween tropes go, this is about as generic as it gets. So you start in a little graveyard, and then you move to kind of a haunted house and the swinging bookshelves and whatever. And it's like, well, what are they going to do next? But I will say, whatever they do next, I think it's going to be great, because this was great. This is the first time we've got enemies crawling up out of graves. And so it's not just, the environment looks different. They're actually doing some different things with the enemies, and I love this. And I can't believe that there's not charging for DLC yet. Like, I know that everybody's thrilled about this, but I'm also shocked that they could easily be charging, I don't know, $6-7, $5.99 for this collection, for the 3-song collection, with all these new environments. But they're not. They're just still bringing us free DLC years later. It is so much. This game is 3 or 4 times bigger than it was at launch. It's crazy.
Because when it came out on PSVR, it came with like all the DLC that had been made up to that point, and it was like, it's all going to be included. They've done an amazing job, and I say that if you own Pistol Whip, definitely jump in, give this a go. Check out the other collection if you haven't already. Also, if you've never done the campaigns, I've only done the first campaign. It's really, really good fun. Just if you don't own Pistol Whip, I don't know what it costs at the moment, actually.
I think it's been $30 the entire time.
I just feel that that's an absolute bargain for the amount of content. But again,
now it is.
You got to look at this and think: is this a kind of game that you're going to like? It's very physical.
Yep.
You have to do a lot of leaning around. You have to like shooting games. So yeah, if it's a game that you think you'd like the look of, yeah, it's you're gonna have a lot of content there.
So satisfying. I think every developer out there, every VR developer out there would love to have their own pistol whip, would love to have their own Beat Saber, like the money making machine, the thing that they can just, add some more content to every few months, and it just, the sales just keep driving. I don't know. This wasn't on our run of show, Miles, but we did have a sales chart today from the PlayStation blog. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, then let's see if Pistol Whip placed. Here, let me bring it up here.
The show's not going to hit 4 hours by itself, Brian.
I saw Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry say 1 hour down, 3 to go. That's hilarious.
Come on, JP, you've got this. You got this, JP. Keep going.
He's got this. Do we have this?
Nah.
No, we definitely do not. Where is, here it is. Okay, let me just bring this up over here on OBS. I will say there was one thing that I think that stood out about this sales chart, and everything else just kind of went right past me. So this is actually going to be a little bit surprising to me, I believe. There we go. All right, PlayStation Store, September 2023, top downloads. So let's scroll right down to the shit we care about, and that is PlayStation VR2 games, starting from the bottom. We're going to go with the US side of things. There are some interesting differences between the US and the EU, but starting at the bottom, Firewall Ultra, which has fallen very quickly. Although, was it on, how long has it been out? It was on last month's sales chart, wasn't it?
Let me have a look.
I'm saying it's fallen, but like, has it even had time to place?
Let's have a look. Top downloads for this is September, so August.
Yes.
So for August, oh my god, this is 2020.
PSVR2
it's not
wasn't
on there.
Out yet.
It's not on there. I don't know what they were playing at. No, I've got it here now.
Okay.
Okay. PSVR2 for the US. So Firewall was number 1.
Okay. So it fell pretty far then. In the last month. Here, keep that chart up because we're going to get there.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, so number 9 was Swordsman VR, which is fucking incredible to say. This is Swordsman VR turned out to be Sin Studios Pistol Whip, turned out to be Sin Studios Beat Saber. I just said every studio wants one of those games. Swordsman Sin Studio got one that no one would have expected in a much different fashion. This isn't a rhythm game. This isn't what it's a melee combat sandbox game. You wouldn't expect this to be something that a developer like Sim would just keep iterating on and just adding to, but yet here we are. It's the exact same situation as Pistol Whip, and I believe it belongs right here, despite the fact that it's years and years old.
Yeah, this was number 6 in the US. It's actually in the same position for the EU as last time. And actually, I'll just say on this, a friend of mine, Rick, bought a PSVR2 this week. He just texted me and said, "I've done it. I've bought it. Let's do some gaming together." And he was asking me for a list of recommendations, and I gave him quite a long list. On it, I didn't say Swordsman VR, and I enjoy Swordsman VR. It's just there's a lot of other games that I just say, like, in terms of what to go for first. But he actually said, no, I went and bought Swordsman VR. He says it's a good time, but he goes, he's got other games that he wants to move on to now. But I think that very thing, I think they've just nailed it with the marketing. When you're looking at a list of what VR games and you see Swordsman VR, you're like, yeah, I want that. Like it does what it,
Yep.
If there was a game called like Shoot 'em in the Face VR, that'd probably do very well as well. Like just very visceral, just like I know exactly what it is.
You heard it here first, Strange Games. Reggie will have that out in 2 months.
Yeah. But on a serious note, I do think Swordsman VR, just the name of it, is a part of the amazing marketing of it. You can just imagine straight away of like, oh wow, doing that in VR would be really cool. And that's the funny thing. This just proves that I'm never right about anything, Miles. Because when I first heard the word name Swordsman, I was like, that's a little on the nose, isn't it? It's that, I'm the same guy that kind of blames Song in the Smoke.
the fact that it's not a number one seller month after month after month, I blame that on the title. And that here I am going, oh, Swordsman, that's not going to work either. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because Swordsman totally worked.
Well, and on the flip side, I do wonder if VR Skater would have done better if it was named Skater VR instead of VR Skater. But I don't know. It's these little things of does it make a difference? But anyway, back to the chart.
I'm wondering if VR Skater would have done better with a celebrity attached to it, like Tony Hawk. Like, could Tony you be Hawk like Bob Burnquist VR Skater? Like, I think that might have been.
I would love to know if Tony Hawk has played it because he is a VR player. Because Ana Ribeiro,
he's not allowed to talk about it. He's like, my name's attached to a different game.
Yeah, true. That's probably that's probably what it is. Because I think they shared Tony Hawk's tweeted on Instagram years ago, posted a picture of his daughter, I think one of his kids playing VR and was playing Pixel Ripped. Because of the retro games of like, wow, these are the games that I grew up with. So Tony Hawk's is, will have been aware of it. But as you say, that's probably what's happened.
Mighty Coconuts Beat Saber. Mighty Coconuts Pistol Whip is number 8, which is Walkabout Mini Golf. Again, a game. And they're doing it a completely different way. They're charging $3-4 for every single piece of DLC, and people are eating it up. And I still think that is the best value on PSVR2 that there is. I've got hundreds of hours in that game. I love it.
And that's moved down. That's moved down from number 5. Okay. And interestingly enough, it didn't rank in August in the EU, which was a surprise. Whereas it now does, and it's ranked quite high. So I don't know what's going on, but it's done well. It's so funny when
you look at like certain titles that just are even across the board, and then some titles just exist in one region but not the other. Period. It's insane.
It didn't rank in the EU last month, but it's now a solid number 5.
Yeah, Kayak isn't even on the US chart, but it's number 8 in the EU.
And it was number 8 last month as well, so it's steady.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, steady as she goes. Creed Rise to Glory Championship Edition, which I think that it's a fun game for sure. I really, really enjoyed my time with it. However, I think having a famous movie associated with it is really helping them out big time.
And it didn't rank on either chart last month.
Crazy.
So interesting how these waves happen, right?
Also, they might have something to do with sales as well. We obviously don't have a sales chart here, and seeing like when $10 off, $15 off goes a long way sometimes. Sure. Job Simulator at number 6. This is just never gonna go away. It's at number 4 in the EU. I'll never understand it, man. Job Sim is fun. It's a cool, like, my first VR game, and I love the humor. But man, I just don't understand its staying power. Like, everybody must own Job Simulator by this point.
Well, it must have been a sale because it didn't rank in any of the charts in August.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I'm happy to see Alvo is here at number 5. Not only was so I'm wondering if the $5 upgrade charge contributed to this being a little bit higher than we'd expect it to be. It's number 9 in the EU, so it is selling worldwide.
And it's a new entry for this chart, yeah,
but also well deserved. I feel like they found the right price point. It's a $20 game. The different modes that they've added, the different maps that they've added. There's a lot of content here. It's not perfect, but it's fun.
Absolutely.
Interestingly, Hellsweeper VR made it on here.
New entry, yeah.
Yep, but not in the EU at all. This is number 4. Number 4. You guys were buying fucking Switchback while we were buying Hellsweeper.
Yeah. Basically, you all bought Hellsweeper, and then as it was coming across the ocean, you were like, "Don't buy
it." Yeah, exactly.
Don't buy it.
Exactly.
Slow mo of everyone pressing order and just like going Switchback.
Pavlov is holding on number 3. Beat Saber number 2. It's fantastic. But the big deal was the Crossfire at number 1. Crossfire Sierra Squad was number 1 last month, I believe. Do you have it there? Is it number 1?
Crossfire was actually number 4 in the US, but actually, and the EU. It was number 4 for both.
But it had only been out for, I believe, a day or two. When so it had almost no time to sell. So the fact that it was even that high is incredible. And then it must have sold really well since then, because to be able to maintain number 1 after that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like, it's overtaken Firewall because it came out not long after Firewall, right?
What, Crossfire?
Yeah.
I don't remember, man.
I think it was like a week after because it was pretty close. So it's interesting that it's not just taken the first post from Firewall, but Firewall was absolutely plummeted. Yeah. Beat Saber and Pavlov is the same as last month, although on the EU it was the other way around. Pavlov was number 2 and Beat Saber was number 3. So look, Beat Saber just has staying power. We know that. Yeah. Beat Saber is going to be number 2 or 3, depending on how many new releases there are every month. Yeah.
Hey, and as far as Firewall's concerned, I saw somebody in the chat say that it's, that the Firewall is actually selling well, and this is the 3rd month that it's been out. So it's, kind of a little bit different perspective when you think of it that way. However,
yeah, true.
I also think that Firewall is going to be a game that has staying power. I think that Firewall, once we get more patches and everything's resolved, I think Firewall is going to be a game that we see on the top 10 list for years to come. That's been my hope. That's been my hope since before launch. That's been my hope since before we, found out that it didn't launch in a great state. That's been suffering, with server problems and whatever else for so long, or matchmaking problems. And I mean, it's there's something just about the tradition of having played it for years on PlayStation VR 1 that makes me want to see Firewall Ultra succeed. And have this be a game that we continue to play for years, and I really do hope that's the case. Also, no Green Hell on here,
or Synapse. Synapse has been knocked off.
Wow, Synapse and Green Hell, both great games.
Both pretty close. They were 7 and 8. 7 was Green Hell last month. 8 was Synapse. I'm just seeing what else. Red Matter 2 was number 9.
Oh, wow.
And The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 was number 10.
Pretty crazy. I bet next month we see Red Matter maybe 1 and 2 chart, because a lot of people held off on Red Matter 2 saying I never played the first game. Now that there's a bundle out there, I wonder how that'll translate to the sales charts.
Yeah, because Green Hell was number 5 and Red Matter 2 was number 6 in the EU, so they did well on that side as well. And then snuck in at number 10 in the EU last month was The Room VR, A Dark Matter. Movemaster
Mick, the same comment as last month. Movemaster Mick, he wants to see the PSVR 1 chart as well. Let me blast through it for you. Number 10 was Budget Cuts. 9 Borderlands. 2 8 Creed Rise to Glory. 7 Astrobot. 6 Skyrim. 5 Batman Arkham VR. There must have been a sale going on here, because it's a great game, but should it be number 5 on the sales chart? No. 4 Arizona Sunshine. 3 Beat Saber. Surprise. 2 Job Sim, and number 1 Super Hot VR. There must have been a sale, although Super Hot is a classic game. Where the fuck is Super Hot on PSVR 2? Hold on, let me just start typing. Dear Super Hot developers.
I know, right?
Yeah. As much as I want Super Hot VR on PSVR 2, what I want even more, and I've said this multiple times, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, I want Super Hot, the flat screen game. I want that. I want to play that in VR, because as a full-on first-person shooter where you run around, and every time you move, time moves. So I want to incorporate my hands into that motion the same way that Super Hot VR did, and get this full-on first-person shooter with actual full levels. I want to get that on PlayStation VR 2, because I think that would blow people's minds.
These charts, especially for PSVR, are very heavily impacted by the sales, because number 1 in both regions last month was The Walking Dead Onslaught.
Whoa. Whoa. Listen, Onslaught, Onslaught's not a great game, but Onslaught's not...
It was an Onslaught.
Not terrible. Number 1 doesn't make any sense, though. So, all right, man. Well, listen, our big story of the day is that one of the games that had been slated for late 2023, a game that we just hadn't gotten really many updates on at all for a very long time, was Behemoth. Now, hopefully, I get the right trailer here, but Behemoth, all we had seen of it was kind of a teaser with the title and then the next video that came out was a CG trailer, kind of give you an idea of what the gameplay would be like. And according to anybody that we talked to at Skydance, the idea was, yeah, absolutely, this does give you a good idea of what the gameplay is like, even if it's not going to look quite as good as this. So we're anxiously anticipating, maybe not even the release, but a new trailer to show actual gameplay, to show what we were doing moment to moment. And then word came out just yesterday, I believe, that not only was Behemoth delayed out of 2023, but it was delayed till late 2024. Yes, Kevin, that is a long time.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think of this? I mean, obviously we live in a world where delays not only are becoming more prevalent, but maybe should be more prevalent, especially considering the way that certain games are released. So, I mean, I don't think there's too many people that are super bummed about this. This is Skydance. We want the next Skydance game to be fucking amazing. Delayed as long as it takes, because hopefully this will sell for years and years to come, and it'll be incredible when we finally get our hands on it. Am I alone on that? Like, or are you like, oh man, I would have fucking rather have it next month?
No. I welcome it. Take as long as it needs to do.
Yep.
Although a part of me does wonder if there was an administrative error where they were like, let's delay it, and they were flicking on the calendar, and then they just slipped a year. They're like, let's do it in December, and then we'll do that.
Yeah.
Wait, that's 2024. Oh shit. Well, it's out now.
Right.
We got it signed off, so I'm happy. Let's just get it done in the next couple of months, and then let's go party on pre-orders.
Right.
But we're not pre-ordering anything, are we, Brian?
We are definitely not pre-ordering anything. Now, listen.
12 months away.
I mean, I think that's if we're lucky. How much?
Yeah.
I'll place a pizza bet right now with you, Miles. How much do you want to bet this gets pushed into 2024? I mean, sorry, one more year, 2025. Yeah, Q1 2025.
I'll happily bet 2024.
Right, I owe everybody a pizza.
So what have they actually? So have they just said it's 2024? They haven't given any sense of when.
Late. They said late 2024.
Right.
That's why I think this is so monumental. I had no question in my mind that Behemoth was going to get delayed, not even remotely, because we hadn't seen even a fucking screenshot. Never mind a gameplay trailer or even 5 seconds of gameplay. We'd seen nothing. There was no chance in hell it was making it out this year, late 2023, as they'd said. But I absolutely thought early 2024, like maybe spring, summer 2024, but not late 2024, a full year delay. Like, what? My question for anybody at Skydance who would actually answer this question, I don't know if anybody would, is what happened? Did this become a bigger project than you expected it to be? Did this become a bigger game? Were there certain things that you just couldn't cut? Because we do know, Miles, that most games have huge elements of them, levels, entire mechanics, crafting systems just chopped out in order to make deadlines all the time. Yeah. And then delaying this a year, I feel as though somebody at Skydance looked at this and said, we can't chop out any of this because it's all essential to the gameplay. We need to give these guys time to do what they need to do. That's just me speculating, but it makes me really happy because that means there's a studio out there that fucking cares about their game.
And they make ambitious titles. So the fact they're like, we're going to give it the time it needs, and the fact that they have the resource to do that as well.
Yeah.
I'm like all for it. So yeah.
This is also, by the way, coming off of the Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 launch, which on Quest was abhorrent, to use my calendar word of the day. Abhorrent. I don't know what that means. I think it means the right word. However...
Aberrant.
British.
No, that aberrant is a different word.
Abhorrent. I don't know if I'm pronouncing
abhorrent.
It. Listen,
well,
but it did not...
Is this confirmed as a PSVR2 exclusive?
No, it's not a PSVR2 exclusive. No. It is absolutely coming to, I believe, definitely Quest, but I believe Steam as well. So it's cross-platform. I think where are we going with this? Oh yeah, they were coming off of. They've got some. Skydance has a little bit of bad press going on right now because the Quest launch of Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution was so abhorrent. And then on top of that, when I reviewed Chapter 2 on PSVR2, everything went flawlessly. But then they patched a couple things right before launch or on launch day or something like that, and it screwed up so many things for so many people, and they had a bad time too. And so there's got to be some kind of reparations going on here, making sure that the next game they launch is ready to go when it launches. So I think that's a pretty big deal. But that's not. This news is whatever. As far as I'm concerned, delay the game until it's fucking ready. That's how I feel about all games. Delay the game until they're ready, because we'd much rather be playing a great game a year from now than playing a broken game 3 months from now.
And just to reiterate the point to that point, which is, unfortunately, a lot of indie developers don't have that luxury to keep extending the runway, and that's why we often see them put stuff out and then patch it later. I'm not saying it's right, but that's just a financial reality, and I do feel that Skydance, with the successes that they've had, clearly do have to delay it as much as this. That is a bold statement of, like, we have the resource to leave as much runway as we need to make this the success that it can be. And to be fair, a year from now, VR is going to be in a much more mature place. There's going to be a lot more people on board, and if they're spending the time on the game now building it, off the back of everything they've worked on before, like, they're very experienced in the field, that makes me even more excited, because there's going to be a lot of games that come out this time next year that were started on around now, or maybe, you know, at the beginning of the new year, which will be fine games. But I think this one has the potential to be an absolutely S tier, like, system seller, or, like, you want to know what the future of VR is, this is it. Like, there's all that potential there. So
yeah, you hit on such an interesting point, Miles, because you're 100% right. It's so weird to hear when talking to Vertigo Games about Arizona Sunshine 2. They can't have a conversation about it without saying it's like our Half-Life Alyx. And then I talked to Sam over at Well Told Entertainment about the Foglands, and he's like, well, you know, it's like our independent Half-Life Alyx. It's like, so everybody's got these new levels that they're striving towards, and so they know that VR games need to be deeper, they need to be bigger, they need to be better mechanically, they need to be more immersive, they need to start having more parity with flat screen gaming, or VR gamers are just going to fucking lose interest, I think. So, or say, well, we've already got 100 games like this, and so the landscape is changing radically, and I 100% agree with you. I think by this time next year, we're going to be seeing a lot more games in VR that are just bigger, the more complete games. And with the Quest 3 being sort of the baseline, being able to handle more, that's going to be more true than ever. And so that might have been part of the conversation that happened over at Skydance as well.
For sure. And actually, just on that, Well Told Entertainment's Sam Warner with the Foglands, during your interview with him, forgive me if I've misremembered this, but I'm pretty sure when you were asking him about, when you've made a roguelike game, there are a lot of them. Yeah. He said something along the lines of, we're not here just to make levels, we're here to make a world. Like, this is a universe that we're building. And it kind of goes to that as well, which is, what do we all think about when we consider a VR game? When VR first came out, it was like VR experiences. Like, these were all really cool VR experiences. They're VR AF. But they're experiences. You dive in, you sort of have a taste of these different things, and then you start playing these fuller-fledged games. You know, if it's like Zenith or, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, like, wow, these are now worlds that are like, they are their worlds, but they still feel smaller than flat-screen games. And then you look at stuff that are hybrid, like No Man's Sky, of like, oh no, it is a flat-screen game, but in VR, like, in terms of the scope of, you can literally live in these. And that is definitely a cultural thing. The gaming base of VR players needs to mature, because if you start creating it and people are like, no, this is just too much, like, I'm not going to be spending all that time in VR. I think we are getting to a point where next year that appetite will be there. And so, yeah, just going back to that point of a lot of these games, we're moving more and more away from experiences to fully fledged worlds. And I find that really exciting.
Well, more sirens on my end. So this bad news didn't come without a little tiny good news. And I say bad news, but we're all on the same page here. And so getting back to the delay announcement, I think it's important to bring up this image that came with it. There it is. This is the first in-game screenshot that we have seen of Behemoth.
I'm so skeptical of this. I'm not calling him liars.
He's calling you liars. That's true. He is.
I'm just like,
you really. I mean, this is likely on a PC dev station, where running everything with maximum lighting and particle effects and whatever, right? In order to create this screenshot, and it's probably running at 7 frames a second right now because nothing's optimized a year before release. However, I think this was released very intentionally to give us an idea of what to expect, and it's way closer to that cinematic trailer than I think anybody would have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Substatica
is correct. In engine, not in game.
Right.
But
yeah.
But important to get an idea of what this game is going to look like while you're playing it. This is the closest we've gotten so far. So, but it's a good distinction to make.
Okay. With that, the characters in the foreground, I'm like, yeah, I definitely get the feel. It's that big guy in the background. I'm just like, how is this gonna look?
Yeah.
Because this is like Cloverfield style monster. Like,
well, the game's called Behemoth, Miles.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's going to be all about fighting large monsters.
A really big moth in it.
If you go to, hold on a second. If you go over to Behemoth's Twitter account, let me look this up here because I want to make sure I don't. Yeah, the profile page says Skydance's Behemoth is a monster hunting adventure VR game set in a surreal version of the Dark Ages. I want to say that it said something closer to Monster Hunter, like the game itself, Monster Hunter. And so what they're doing is like the core of this game seems like it's going to be fighting and possibly even scaling Shadow of the Colossus style, these massive behemoths. And so I think that has to be something that just simply works in the game. Do you think? Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, okay, because this is the first thing I thought of when I saw this today or yesterday, whenever the hell it launched. See if I can just zoom in on this as much as I can. Look at the back of this monster. You see how it's covered in snow and almost like foliage, like trees and rocks, and it looks like there's an entire environment on this monster's back. Right. So in the style of Shadow of the Colossus, if you were to climb up on this back, is that like an entire level up there that you have to traverse to get to the weak spot of the monster? Like, am I reading too much into this, or does that look like an environment up there?
No, I agree. I looked at that and I thought, it's got a lot of dandruff. Needs to get that sorted out.
Yeah.
And then I thought, no, that does look like something you could climb on. There's chains going up there. So, yeah, this could be Call of the Behemoth.
Can you imagine how intense it would be if we're reading this correctly? If we're reading this correctly, that's a big if. If it is Shadow of the Colossus style, where you get up there and the whole world is moving as you're standing on it, but now you're doing it in first-person VR. It was intense in Shadow of the Colossus. This would be insanely intense.
It's been a while since I've watched the trailer, but the trailer, there's a bit where they're climbing up, and we assume it's a cliff face, but what if it's not?
Oh, right?
I know. I need to watch it again. I might watch it back and go, oh no, that's definitely a cliff face. But I might watch it back and go, might be actually climbing this, as someone had said in the chat, a hippo turtle. Which, to be fair, we were talking about game names earlier. Hippo Turtle VR, I think, would sell more copies. So you got a month to think about that. Just throwing out that, and I'll give that one for free. Hippo Turtle VR.
Nice. Well,
be wicked.
I gotta say, man, the games coming out in 2024 have me extremely excited. I think we keep forgetting about Wanderer Fragments of Fate, just how amazing that remake is going to be coming early 2024. Into the Darkness is coming 2024. That looks like a big game. This is now 2024, supposedly. I mean, There's actually quite a few games coming next year that just look like the next big step in VR.
Brian, pizza
Yes.
bet. What month? What month? You posed this to me earlier and I didn't answer it, but so I'm
March.
throwing it back at you.
March 2025.
You actually think it's going to go to 2025?
Yeah. I really do, because they've obviously realized the scale of this game, that the amount of work that needs to go into it, and they've pushed it back to late 2024. I feel like maybe they'll just give it even more time beyond that.
Dude, I was just watching the trailer that you put on screen.
Yep.
They're climbing the rope up onto the hippo turtle.
It looks like it could be on the back of the hippo turtle. Absolutely.
That's wicked.
Yeah. Here, let's tackle a couple tips here before we move on to our next story. Let's see. Where did my tips go? Here they are. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Game Cat with the $5 tip says, is it just me, or would Swordsman VR with up to 2 teams of 2 players versus be awesome?
Oh man, there's so much I want them to do with those mechanics. The thing I've mentioned this so many times on the show before. I'd love them to use those mechanics, get the rights to Golden Axe, and do a co-op VR of Golden Axe with those mechanics, because they even have the abilities. There's like, you have the lightning ability and stuff in it, so you can imagine holding the sword up and then all of it, the lightning comes down, and it would be so good.
So I think, as awesome as that would be, Kill Artist, I think you make an excellent suggestion. However, as awesome as that would be, I feel as though any experimentation that Sin Studio might have done into multiplayer, co-op, or versus would just be too much to add to Swordsman 1. And so my bet would be that whatever they're doing next will have either co-op or PvP involved. And my bet would be that we do get the game that everyone's been asking for, the game that is this grand adventure, but with amazing combat physics because of everything they've been doing with Swordsman for the last 3 years. So if I had to bet a pizza right now, that would be the game I'm betting that they're making. And I actually don't have any inside knowledge on this. So,
Statica in the chat said, turtlepotomus VR. There we go. That's the name. That is the name. Turtlepotomus VR. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Rolls off your tongue. Sanador the Game Tiger with a $2 tip says, will Foglands not chart on the sales charts? More sirens on my end. Because it's hybrid. Excellent question.
Yeah, that's what I thought in the interview when you were talking about it. Because you were asking them about the analytics, weren't you? Are you going to be tracking?
Right.
But you weren't asking about that. You were just asking about user cases of like what,
right,
generally
but
speaking.
They did say that they'll be able to track the analytics. So because they're going to be able to track how many people are buying it and only playing it in VR, can they also use that to kind of inject themselves into the sales charts? Maybe.
This is going to be something that Sony does have to deal with eventually, though, right? Because as things become more hybrid, it's like... How
disappointing is it that they put millions and millions of dollars into making sure that Village and now RE4 come to PlayStation VR2, and then they don't even get to say, look, it's topping the charts.
Right.
It's just nowhere to be found. It's like, it looks like people aren't even playing it on PSVR2 according to their own sales charts. Yeah, they need to do something about this, and like fucking fast. Virtual Slayer Cat with the level 1 membership says, we believe in Skydance. We do. We do believe in Skydance. We do.
But don't pre-order.
That's a Peter Pan thing. Izzard with the 2 quid says, Monster seems to be fighting with those humans. Oh, hold on a second.
What?
hold on. We're bringing the big image back. Yeah, these humans are not running towards the monster.
And if you look in the bottom right corner, it's been tethered to a massive ball and chain, or it's testicle. I think that's a ball and chain.
It's married, is what you're saying?
Tethered. The bottom right. You see the bottom right?
I see what you're talking about. Your joke wasn't funny. I was trying to make a funnier one.
Oh, sorry. What was funny? I was just talking about the big ball in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
It's like
It's testicle.
tied to it.
No, I heard. We all heard.
Oh, the testicle. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's easy. I mean, it has similar texture to the monster. So.
How old would this hippopotamus have to be? Have to be for his balls to be dragging that far behind him?
Yeah, especially when it's that cold.
True.
Yeah.
It's an excellent point, though. Why aren't we charging at this thing? Why it does look like in this photo that that it's fighting with us, or that these guys have tamed the beast to fight against us, and so we have to kill these guys and then mount the great behemoth in order to take it down.
This game could be called testicular. Yeah. JP, hope you're not getting out of your breathing cycle when you're running from laughing so hard.
He turned us on. He turned us off, an hour ago.
Yeah. Didn't even get to this one.
He finally realized after a year that this is not proper running soundtrack. Anyway, I think that was a pretty good call, Izard. Very interesting that you pointed that out. Macho is a real estate procrastinating GameCat with a $5 tip. Says the guy responsible for sword fighting in Swordsman VR got poached by Tabor. CEO. He admitted it would. He admitted it when announcing melee weapons on a live in Tabor. The guy responsible for sword fighting in Swordsman VR got poached by. So that's what, Chicken Waffle? Is that the studio? Interesting. Luckily, the core mechanics have been there for a while, and I feel like that even if they come across, those mechanics come across to the next game exactly the way they are, it would still be some of the best integrated melee combat that we've got in a larger game. So fingers crossed that everything goes well, and hopefully that means melee weapons in Tabor will improve as well. Dead Ringer the GameCat with a $2 tip. Dead Ringer the GameCat says happy Friday, Brian. Great interview with Sam. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good. I don't like doing interviews. I don't. But they asked and I said yes.
But they're so good, Brian. I wish you did them more.
I mean, who should the next one be? What's the next game coming up that you're interested in? I don't want to do Archaeact. I feel like Archaeact has talked too much about during the Foundation, where it's like they've done AMAs, they've done whatever, and they've posted a million videos all over Twitter. So I'm like, with that one not on the table, who would you want it to be with?
Even though it's a game that's already come out, just because I had a great conversation with him at WASD, Alejandro, the game director of Supermassive Games.
Oh,
really like enthusiastic. He used to work for Square Enix. I couldn't remember the game last time when I mentioned it, but he posted about it the other day. What's the choose your own ending game? It's Square Enix. Oh my goodness, what's their really famous game where you choose your own? Life is
Strange.
Life is Strange. Thank you.
Okay.
He worked on Life is Strange 2, and then Switchback was his first ever VR game, which impressive. But yeah, like he'd be a great person. I don't know. There's a lot of games that I'd love to hear from the developers of, even like Green Hell developers.
Yeah,
obviously there's a running theme here of hearing about the
trials
what
and tribulations.
Yeah. What
Tell us
happened?
All the story.
Yeah. But in terms of upcoming games, I mean, I don't know. This is a big assumption, but the developer behind Madison VR,
Bloodiest Games.
I don't know if he. I know he speaks English when he types. I don't know. I've never seen him do interviews in English, so I don't know what his speaking of English is like. But if he is able to do that, that would be amazing. Like, because he's just grown up as such a massive fan of horror, and to like make a game like that has just taken the world by storm. I just love hearing stories of like, people that are fans that are in this new medium. Like, what's it been like taking a game like that and now making it for VR? He went out to make the scariest game he could on a flat screen, and it's like, oh, right, now take that to VR. I think that's a really interesting story. So, yeah.
Anytime a developer has an interesting story to tell, it's always my favorite time to interview somebody. I remember when I first contacted Alex Sin Studio, obviously, and I told him, I was like, listen, we're very happy that Swordsman turned out well, but a lot of this interview is going to be about the 3 games you published prior, which didn't turn out so well, and the fact that he was willing to be so transparent about those games and what happened and how they came to be and why they ended up being, at least with Warzone, just a complete catastrophe on PSVR 1. Strangely enough, even though we had given, like, me and a bunch of cats out there had all given him a bunch of money for shit that was just abhorrent, Miles, abhorrent.
Abhorrent.
He became endeared to us in the community because he was so honest, and because he was willing to tell those stories and be so transparent about the entire history. And so, and that is what I like about the developer interviews, because it humanizes them, and you find out, hey, these aren't scam artists. These are people who are legitimately trying to make games for a living, and there's learning curves at every turn.
Vertical Robot.
Dude,
would love to.
I have been after Vertical Robot for years, and they have said, we love you, but no, like, we're too busy. They've just said, they've constantly been saying we're too busy. So I'd never gotten them.
Yeah.
And I would love to get the Phasmophobia developers.
Yeah.
But they're huge now, right? Even though they're like a relatively small team, the fact they've got hundreds of thousands of followers because it's a flat screen game, not just VR. So they're impossible to sort of get in touch with about these types of things, and I think it'd be unlikely that I'll be ever be able to interview them. Here, I think we got
Kayak VR guys would be good as well, because they're just a small team. And I had one of Leon I had on my show when the game first came out, and just really interesting story as well of just like, how do 3 people like create such high visuals?
Yeah.
What do they? It's that question, isn't it? It's the same with Vertical Robot. What do you know that everyone else doesn't know? Like,
right.
I know that's a very simplistic way of doing it, but it's kind of, be cool.
It was actually the same thing with people who have been following the channel for a while will remember the game Zing: The Land Beyond. This is a full-fledged puzzle adventure that 3 people made. It was one of the most beautiful things we'd seen on PSVR 1. Amazing environments, just really fucking well done, very responsive, and implemented all these updates after launch to make sure the community got exactly what they were looking for. Full-fledged game made by 3 people. And so when I interviewed them, I was like, how the fuck do you guys do this and no one else can? And they said, well, because we were allowed to take 6 years to get it done.
Right.
And no studio on the face of the planet is allowed 6 years to get anything done. Not in the VR space, at least. So yeah, these are the kind of stories I like to hear. And so hopefully we'll be hearing more stories as the years progress. I promise I won't give up on developer interviews. All right, I'll get 2 more tips, and then we'll get to our next news story. We've got Encha 277. Is that a sitcom? No, it was 227. Remember the woman who sat on the stoop? This was before your time, I think. Yeah, American sitcom about some women who'd sit on the front stoop and just shoot the shit.
The front what?
The stairs in front of their apartment building.
Oh, stairs.
Yeah, 227.
Stoop.
Yeah, stoop.
Stoop.
Yeah, is that not a term?
No,
it might not be.
We say front step, but stoop.
Yeah. Anyway,
Canadian.
It's not even 227. It's 277. Encha 277, the Canadian $5 tip, says, was I the only one who really enjoyed VR experiences like Harmonix Music Visualizer? There doesn't seem to be anything like that for PSVR 2. I don't know. I mean, do you know? Are you familiar with Harmonix Music Visualizer, Miles? This was What'd you think?
And just to go to that, because I know what it's based on the comments we said earlier, I wasn't criticizing saying experiences are the undesirable and world building is the desirable. Like it's one or the other.
Right.
There's a load of experiences I love. I'd even argue that like games like Tetris Effect, they're games, but they are experiences as well. Like they don't. I'm not saying that we just want these massive worlds to live in. They can be things before your eyes. I would say is, small experience, very moving. So I'm totally for all those things. But anyway, to the question in terms of do we have many experiences on PSVR2? I just remember on PSVR you just go down the shop, the store, and you would just see a lot of. Well, there was a whole section, wasn't there, of just like Titanic and these kind of like non-games. We don't seem to have a lot of that at the moment.
Yeah, we don't, and I think for good reason, is because once upon a time we were interested in everything VR had to offer. I remember being there at the forefront of PSVR1 and everybody desperately being like, "What's the next game coming to the store? What's the next game?" We would wait weeks, sometimes months, before we'd get another PSVR1 game. People getting into PSVR2 right now and saying, "This is ridiculous. There's no games." Blah blah blah. You don't fucking know how good you have it. VR is radically different now than it was 7 years ago. In fact, it couldn't be any more different. So, and so when things like Harmonix Music Visualizer came out, like we played everything. We were interested, like, well, what's this going to be? What's experience? How is this going to look? How is this going to feel? How is this going to? And we just wanted to see everything we possibly could in VR, and nothing was enough, which is why the attach rate was so high on PSVR1, because we just wanted everything we get our hands on. For me personally, when you get too many experiences and not enough single A and triple A games, eventually you just get tired of experiences. And I think that happened to a lot of people over the last 7 years. We got way too many experiences and not enough other games to balance that out. I love diversity in games. I love all different kinds of games. I love indie games. But man, when you don't have the single A and triple A games to kind of sporadically drop between all of those, then it just feels like you're way too heavy on one thing. Yeah. And so to be completely honest, I never liked Harmonix Music Visualizer, whatever it was called. I wasn't a fan. But I've never been that kind of person. Not since I did a lot of drugs and went to a lot of raves. Like when I did a lot of drugs and went to a lot of raves, I loved that kind of shit, because like anything that was trippy, I take acid, take ecstasy, doesn't matter, man. I loved it all. But I'm not that person anymore. And so even things like any kind of visualizer, I'm like, nah, not really interested. That was like a part of my life that is pretty much dead now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, experiences can also be to do with functionality. And so actually I'm going to add a story now, Brian, to today's show.
Excellent. Full screen miles.
I will keep this brief though. I did actually send you a link to the article. So PlayStation announced yesterday, or 2 days ago for me in the UK now, on October 5th, introducing Sony Pictures Core, formerly Bravia Core, coming to PS5 and PS4 today. The entertainment app gives PlayStation players exclusive benefits, including early access to select Sony Pictures films. And my tweet alongside this was basically include a PSVR2 app that allows you to watch these films in a virtual cinema with friends, and you have me sold. This is something we've talked about again and again, but this is something that is being brought in for PlayStation Plus Premium, the top tier. Mm-hmm. And I think they've got over 2,000 titles that you can rent or buy. I don't know how it's going to work, that if you own Premium, I think there's a selection that you can just get access to. But the reason I bring this story up, Brian, is because when it comes to experiences, this is another example where I feel we're edging towards Sony, they're looking at like their ecosystem as a whole. And when I think about PSVR2, this just seems like an absolute no-brainer of, you can go and watch a movie with your friends, so you both need PlayStation Plus, a premium. That would push people to get it. Do you think in the next 3 years we're going to get a cinema VR experience?
I think in the next year we'll have big screen or some kind of cinema app.
You think so? In the next year?
I mean, whether Sony develops it themselves or they just partner with somebody like Big Screen or any of the millions of other people who've been trying to do it, they obviously not millions, but they've got a wealth of people who've been trying to make this a thing for a very long time to partner with. And I hope it happens. To kind of
Sony's the perfect candidate, isn't it? Because it has the IP to do it.
I need to get mad for a second, Miles, because
go for it.
Because I'm maybe the only person who loved buying TV shows and buying movies on the PlayStation Store. That was my go-to. Was my go-to. So when I was like, well, I'm going to buy a movie. When I'm going to buy a horror movie, I was building a horror movie collection. That was on my PlayStation 4. That was on my PlayStation 3. And it just carried over. And I was like, this is cool. I'm going to be a PlayStation guy for the rest of my life, which Sony is trying their damnedest to make me not be. But I'm sticking with them, even if they don't want to stick with me, motherfuckers.
Have they locked you out of your catalog? Is that what they did?
I don't know. I don't know if it's expired yet, but they did say, hey, when PlayStation 5 came out, there were no more games. I'm sorry, there were no more movies to rent. There were no more TV shows to buy. There were no more movies to buy. They'd gotten rid of that entire side of the PlayStation Store. They'd gotten rid of it, and they were like, sorry. And then they let us. They said, but you'll be able to keep watching the things you've purchased until this date. And I don't remember what that date was, but it immediately turned me off and said, well, what ecosystem do I live in now for my movies? Obviously, we live in a streaming society where, yes, I have Netflix, yes, I have Hulu, yes, I have Amazon, but I don't know what's happening to Netflix or Hulu or Amazon next year or the year after that. Well, I still own those. Do I want to have a bunch of movies that I own on Amazon? Am I going to be an Amazon subscriber for the rest of my life? I don't think so, man, because I think at a certain point there will be competition that will make me not want to be a member of Amazon anymore. So, but in my heart, I was like, I'm going to be with PlayStation for the rest of my life, and I don't know if that's going to be true either. But it certainly sounded more true to me than I'm going to be with Amazon for the rest of my life. And so that's where I set up. That's where I set up my camp. That's where I planted my flag. And I was like, any shows I buy, any movies I buy are going to be on PlayStation. And that all went away. And I've lost all faith.
Fair.
So I'm not investing in any of this until I see where it's going. Obviously, This is all about streaming right now. I don't think, are they saying you can buy stuff on here? You can rent stuff?
So they say you can buy and rent. I'm just going to the actual article. Once you sign up for Sony Pictures Core on your PS4 or PS5, you will be able to buy or rent up to 2,000 movies. That costs a lot. Straight from your console.
Yeah.
They have 2 asterisks as well. At launch, this will include blockbuster hits. With Sony Pictures Core on PS5 and PS4, you'll be able to purchase select Sony Pictures films during an exclusive early access window straight from your console. Talk about Gran Turismo. If you're a PlayStation Plus Premium or Deluxe member, I think Deluxe is what they did in Poland when they tested this out. Is that right?
I don't know.
Because basically for the last year now, they were testing this in Poland where you could access the movies. And I think that's what Deluxe was for, but I'd have to look it up. So they say if you're a PlayStation Plus Premium or Deluxe member, you'll get access to a curated catalogue of up to 100 movies, and there's 5 asterisks there on demand. Let's go to. I'm going to all the stars. Right, the 4 stars. Catalog content varies over time, region, country, and plan, and requires separate download and use of Sony Pictures Core app. Okay. PlayStation Plus is subject to a recurring subscription. Okay, so it's all what we expect.
Nothing really crazily hidden here, but yeah, I mean, you know what is like, if I've got all these movies that I can rent now or purchase, are they also reinstating my previous collection?
Right.
Are they
Which is kind of what they did for some?
No. No, the answer is going to be no. That's absolutely not going to happen. And on top of it, I already downgraded my Plus membership to the lowest tier because I wasn't using anything. I wasn't using anything beyond the multiplayer and occasionally like a 10% discount on something. So there was no point in me spending $120 or $130 a year on something I wasn't using. And I'm not going to do that now to get another streaming service with a handful of movies in the Plus section. Not interested.
Yeah. I downgraded from the top to the middle, and this is not enough for me to go, because it's kind of like, if there's a selection of movies on there I want to see, I'll just pay for it separately to get access it for the month that I need it, you know. But if they do a VR component, then that would get me on board, because I would love to just have that flexibility. You know, us in the Discord going, "Hey, should we go watch a movie?" And it's like, "Yeah, let's all jump in." That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If there was a reason for me to say, "Hey, you know, this is now taking care of a lot of my Amazon Prime needs, or this is taking care of a lot of my Hulu, or whatever," man. Like, I don't even know. You know, I don't at this point, I don't even know what I'm subscribed to. And I need to probably go through and cancel at least 2 or 3 subscriptions. You know, just the ones that kind of hang out in the background, like Peacock and like Disney Plus and shit like that. That were like $7 a month, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not using them anymore. I could see that being appealing if they incorporate some kind of big screen type VR social space where we can all hang out and do this shit. Because, dude, I was watching The Nun 2 last night, which I purchased on Amazon. Because guess what, Sony? You don't want my money anymore when it comes to movies, apparently. So I purchased it on Amazon.
They're having none of that.
No, they're having none. Oh. So I and I was watching it, and I was like, you know what? This is okay. It's not great, but it's fine. Like, it's a good way to kick off October. A good scary movie, mediocre scary movie. But it would have been so much more fun with friends. Like, laughing about the silly stuff, and, you know, joking about the jump scares, that kind of stuff. Horror movies are better with friends. And I'm not going to a theater. I'm not going to a movie with a bunch of friends. That time has also passed. But I would absolutely jump in with a bunch of game cats and go sit in a virtual movie theater, and watch The Nun 2 and just laugh and get scared together. 100%. Sci-fi game cat Henry in the chat says buying nun movies is a bad habit. I didn't know Henry was British.
There we go.
Who knew?
Dude,
I don't know if you saw, but Zeke VR in the chat says, anyone playing VR Pigeons?
Well, Brian, I might have had a sneaky play. I was actually going to do a let's play of it earlier, but I was so exhausted after work, I just played it in the comfort of my own home without broadcasting it. But I will do a let's play at some point. It's going to probably be a short let's play, because there's like 4 levels, aren't there?
I couldn't make it past the first one, Miles.
Right, Brian, can I just say straight off the bat, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I play this on PSVR.
Yeah. My
pigeon neck movements were a lot more successful on PSVR than PSVR2. I struggled on this. Yep. Okay, fine.
And so I immediately switched to R1.
Yes, yep. Yes. And then you're able to double tap and then get the bread really, really quickly because you're doing it with both. Yep. The whole neck movement, it was not working for me. And I was like, the tracking's clearly better, but on PSVR, I felt like a pigeon. I genuinely felt like a pigeon. I was like, this neck movement, I've got it. Here, it was not happening.
Now, on this game, I just felt like a moron on top of a blurry rooftop.
Right.
Yeah, because it's the same resolution it was on PSVR 1. There's no way they upgraded this shit. It looks exactly how I remember it. It's a $5 game, so we're not going to crucify this thing. And it is a free upgrade if you did already buy it on PSVR 1.
Oh, it is?
It is, indeed. Yeah, I actually... got that information out of them.
That's good. There's a good upgrade path for pigeon fans out there. That's good.
How crazy is it that like everything but Paper Beast recently has been a free upgrade? Everything, and even Paper Beast was $5. You know, Alvo was the other one, which was $5. Like this is looking really, really good. I think developers are really understanding, you know, that their core customer is not the people who already bought their game. It's the potential for new PSVR2 owners to buy their game. I think they're really understanding that. AJ's in the chat. He says, I'm serious. VR Pigeons is a good, bad game. Okay, so I played the first level twice, and I don't know why I couldn't move on to the second level, because it made that wah, 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 wah sound at the end each time. Like the slide whistle. Yeah. And so it said you get a high score, but there's obviously something I'm missing. You're just supposed to get bread and knock the other pigeons off the roof. Is that it?
Yeah, well, just get the bread, and then I was knocking some of them off the roof, but I was mainly just gobbling up the bread. It's all about the bread. I did all 4 levels, and they don't get. It was fine. I think the first level was my favorite.
Oh, good. Well, then I didn't miss anything because, I played the first level twice. Don't know why I didn't proceed to the next level, and it was very happy that I'm never going to play this game again.
Isn't there meant to be pooping mechanics? Didn't we talk about this on PSVR?
There's poop. There's poop in this game.
But you can't poop.
I don't think you can poop, but the other pigeons certainly do poop. That's a thing.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean,
I think if you're a pigeon enthusiast, this is a must own. Other than that, don't worry about it.
What was going on with the turning? Were you just turning physically? Because when it says only has click turning, and it's
I couldn't turn.
In the early days of PSVR 1, when developers didn't know, the control schemes we were using for the move controller, a lot of times, sometimes you push the left move button or a button on the left move controller to rotate left, and then the same for the right move controller, you'd rotate right with a button over here. So it's like turn left, turn right. And that's exactly what they're doing here with VR Pigeons. You push the face buttons to turn on each controller.
That's where I went wrong. Okay.
But the button on the right move controller or sense controller turns you left.
Okay.
And the one on the left turns you right. And so not only is it click turning, they've got the buttons on the wrong fucking controllers. As far as I can tell, unless there's another button I was missing. And so, I wasn't having any fun with this.
Is that why pigeons are always flying into things, Brian? That could be it.
One of the world's many mysteries has been answered today.
They use click turning in real life.
And it's all backwards.
Yeah. I didn't know that you could do that turning. Yeah. I was just also in the main menu at the beginning. You have that option between like monoscope and stereoscope or something.
I couldn't even get to the option to change it because that's my pecking wasn't good enough.
I had no idea what it meant. I was very confused by the game, so I felt like a pigeon. It's a silly bit of fun.
Listen, if you get $5 burning a hole in your pocket, save it because put that toward one of the many great games coming this month.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it sounds like you and AJ had a little bit more fun with this than I did.
It was fun. Oh, fun is a strong word. I had a time with it, Brian.
Okay.
I had a time with it that I will like. If people mention VR Pigeons again, I'll go, oh yeah, I remember, and that'll be it. It's fine for what it is. If the neck mechanics worked better, I would have liked this a lot more. I was annoyed that I couldn't do that because that was the selling point of the game. So I don't know if there's just a glitch with it or it's not working. But I do remember on PSVR, I was definitely because that's how I played it the first time. This I went straight to using the controllers. So yeah, that's the verdict.
Unbelievable. Macho, the real estate procrastinating game cat with a $2 tip says Combat Waffle Studios. He's a vet and a nice, cool guy. Nice. Shout out to Combat Waffle Studios. They're making, they've got 2 games in the works now. Because that's just what you do. 2 games are better than 1. The Game Cat Dojo Behemoth, a.k.a. Get In My Belly, Game Cat Wilkins with the $10 tip says, I heard pigeons taste like chicken. Just saying. LOL. I'm surprised they don't taste more like bread. I'm betting you can't eat pigeon if you have a gluten allergy.
They taste of bread and poop. Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather eat pigeon than play Pigeons VR. That's for sure. Miles, unexpected great game came out this week. We were very fortunate to have access to it for the last, 10 days or something. But holy crap, man. How great is Ghost Signal, a Stellaris game?
I was so relieved when you told me behind the scenes that you were having a really good time with it because for anyone that knows, when I do Let's Plays, I always give games a chance. And whenever I'm asked to recommend, would I recommend it? I will recommend it in the context of, if this is the kind of game you like, this is for you. Otherwise, it's not. Ghost Signal was a game I was just like, this is an amazing game. But I just felt so anxious sort of throwing it out there to you. Because different people like different games. And I did play it in January when I went to Fast Travel Games, but I played it on the Quest, and it was my first time ever playing a Quest. It was the first game I played when I was there. And so I think a lot of my struggles were just getting used to the Quest controllers. But I had a really good time, and I was like, I'm really curious. Like, I kind of understand what's going on, but they're telling me there's all these big creatures. I want to know how big the game is. Yeah. And it is a game that I haven't stopped thinking about since January. Like, every so often I'm just like, I hope that comes to PSVR2. There's another game that they haven't said anything about it coming to PSVR2. All I know is there's no plans. Hopefully they change that if these games do well, which is their Guardians Frontline game.
Oh yeah.
But we're not here to talk about that now. But my point is that it's great to see Fast Travel Games, doing these ports. And if they do well, they'll keep doing them. I was just so happy. And the thing I love about this game most, and you said it very well in your review, Brian, which is it's like the most chilled action game ever. Because people go like, oh, is there a lot going on? It's like, it is, but just the music, man. It's the music. I know it's not the most crystal clear game, but every time you go to a new sector or scene, you'll spend a moment looking around you at just the asteroids and different planets. Yep. Maybe there's a sun with a belt of solar, like a solar belt where they're like extracting the energy from the sun. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful. I do like your companion at the beginning. I like the story. The story, you can kind of not care about it, but even if you know a little bit, you kind of know what you're doing and what you're chasing. And it's just got a great grind to it. The inventiveness, the combinations, the decision making. Do you use your scrap to upgrade, or do you find, which I found very early on, which is you don't really upgrade anything, but you don't scrap anything. You just keep building. Yep. You just use whatever you can find. You can be a lot more strategic when you start researching things and being able to like meet traders who give you discounts or like level 2 or level 3 items. But yeah. I absolutely loved it, and I was really, really smiling when I saw you gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it was, and that didn't hit me immediately. Obviously, when I first jumped in, and it's like, okay, this seems silly. Why am I not playing this in first person? Like that, I hate saying that and saying like, because I generally trust the developers to deliver a game that makes sense to them, and so there's got to be a reason why they didn't offer a first person mode in this game. And so I'm playing it, and you've got the ability to kind of plot your ship around the environment. So it feels like it's on autopilot, so that you can focus on shooting lasers and shooting your blasters and firing missiles on the other ships. And it took a little while for me to kind of like really understand it. It took a couple of runs, took a couple hours. Each run of this game, if you complete it, takes about anywhere 45 minutes or so, depending on how fast you get through it. And I feel like this is a game that slowly gets its hooks in you. And the second you start upgrading the Aurora, the first ship that they give you, you're invested. Because you're like, okay, now I can plot 3 arcs to my autopilot ship. Now my shields are higher. Now my hull is stronger. And you really do start getting invested. And you see these things way down the skill chart tree that you really fucking want. Like there's a revive at the end of the skill chart tree, at the very end. And so you got to upgrade all these other things to get there. And you're like, well, a revive. How could I possibly fail a mission if I have a revive? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's so funny that I think I put 10 hours into Ghost Signal before I talked to you, Miles, and said, why is the game asking me to make the game harder for myself? Because after you beat the game once, they give you a list of modifiers. They call them threats. And it says, and now one of them will say enemies take or cause 10% more damage or cause 25% more damage. And another one will say enemies' shields are 10% stronger, or you have to fight more of this boss. And there's 10 of them. And I was like, why is the game asking me to make it harder for myself? And when you explained it to me, it was this strange awakening where I loved the game prior to your explanation, but then once you explained it to me and explained how the game actually worked, I fell in love with this game. Maybe you can explain to everyone what this is all about and why you're manually adding your own threats. Because, when you explained it to me, it was a big deal. So maybe you can explain it to everybody else.
Sure. I mean, to be honest, I kind of feel like I discovered it by chance. So yeah, basically, once you've completed the game and you've got to the end, you then unlock and you have these 10 threat levels. And the reason I discovered it was, as Brian says, you get these 10 different options that you can choose. And I chose a few of them. And every time you add one, it means that the percentage of, I don't know what the currency is. I think it's experience. There's a purple currency, and that is the currency in roguelites where when you die, you keep it. And that's what you can use for researching. And so for every threat level that you add, it will increase the percentage of how much of that experience you harvest. So to be able to research more, you want to basically make it as difficult as possible. But as I was selecting multiple, I went to press play and it says, you must complete threat level 1 first. But it's like, okay, started unselecting them. And then you have to choose only one of them to play threat level 1. Then once you've completed the game with that threat level, you then got to choose 2 to do threat level 2. 3, 4, all the way up to 10. I think there might be 11th or the 10th one. Once you get to threat level 3, you unlock a new one. And it's good because it makes you strategic. You work out what your strengths are. Without going into too much detail, one of the abilities that you can research is that whenever you meet a trader, one of the components that they offer you will be at a discount or is like level 2 or level 3. Or has a chance of being that. So, but one of the threat levels is whenever you meet a trader, they only sell you one item. So that was the first thing I chose because that actually works at a benefit because it means whenever you meet a trader now, you're only going to be offered one item that is at a discount because it says every time you meet someone, one of them's going to be at a discount or it's the only one that they're offering you. And if it's not something that you need, you can sell it at a profit. Or it might be a level 2 or a level 3. So that's kind of how I play the game now. And that's been really helpful. But there are tricky ones, as Brian said as well. The adding like 10 shield to all enemies might seem like, oh, I can deal with 10 shield. But then it's like when you have the motherships that spawn all these small ships that you normally take out straight away, they all have shield now. And yeah, you can take them out, but it takes away your ammo that you would want to then spend on attacking the mothership, and then you can get overwhelmed. And the beauty of this game overall is the simplicity of it. You have blasters, which are best at fighting the hull, which is the HP bar, and then you have lasers, which are better for shield. You can use them for each other, but primarily that's what they're best for. And then you have these missiles as well that are just really, really powerful. But yeah, it's a great game. I'm happy to hear a few more of your thoughts before I then explain the heartbreak that I had with this game, which is why I've gone from absolutely loving it to not being able to stomach ever wanting to play it again.
No, I just want to go on a little bit more about the threats because that was something that was such a big turning point for me, where I started thinking about every other game I've ever played in my entire life and how most games will make the game more difficult for you, kind of whether you're ready for it or not. And so you're progressing through and you're like, oh man, these enemies are way too hard for me or whatever. And the fact that you're able to say, you know what, I'm not ready to make this game more difficult yet. I want to grind a little bit more and upgrade my ships a little bit more and be able to do that at the skill level that you're comfortable with, and then say, okay, I'm ready for my next challenge. And then you add that on, and now you've taken control of when the game gets more difficult. You're telling the game, hey, I'm ready to progress a little bit. Let's do this. And so it just brought back all those JRPG memories where Final Fantasy X, I'm 60 hours in, realizing that I've upgraded my sphere grid in the wrong way. And I need to go grind for another 5 hours to fix my sphere grid a little bit before I fight the next boss. And it just felt the same somehow. The game, this is the first game in a long time that I felt like gives you back control over over your progression through the game. Do you want to hang out and just keep doing what you've been doing for a while and make sure that you're stronger the next time you go through, or are you ready to tackle the next challenge? You just don't see that very often.
Yeah, it is a really interesting mechanic. And what's also great about it is it's not just as simple as, oh, okay, so you play it 10 times and every time you add a new threat, you choose a new threat to add. Right. There's a bit of chess going on. Because, for example, there was one threat where it strengthens the power of one of the bosses. And I beat it and I was like, great, all right, I'm going to strengthen the other boss, which was actually a boss earlier in the game. I thought that'd be even easier. No, it was hard. So but I still managed to complete the run, but barely. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn that one off. And now I've got to choose 2 other threats this time. And so sometimes you're switching the combinations. Now, obviously, at the end, you have to fight with all the threats. But the other thing I was going to mention, Brian, was you unlock different ships that have the second one that you get is the one that's like the rammer. I actually never change ships, so I was just like, what? I'm happy with. Yeah, so I'm curious to know how you got on with the second ship.
Dude, the second ship is crazy because when you pick it, you're like, should I not be adding any threats because the shield level and the hull, the amount of damage the hull can take is so much lower than the Aurora, the ship you've been using and upgrading, and so I was like, I guess I'll roll the dice and try to go through this with a second threat on. And it was insane because it controlled so much differently. It was so much faster that when ships were firing on me, I was moving out of the way without even using the turbo dodge, whatever mechanic that they give you. And then when you do hit that button, you fly across the screen. Like you are so out of the way of anything coming your way in a second. And so the fact that it controls so much differently, yet you have no shields, basically, it might be the better of the 2 ships. Which is really strange. I wasn't expecting that at all. I didn't want to play it. I didn't want to use that new ship. And then I played it and I was like, I might like this ship better.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Some people in the chat are asking, because there is a demo for this game, but there have been problems at launch. I know Fast Travel Games have publicly said on their Discord that they're working on a fix. So whether
there was an update today. There's an update this morning, and then after that update, the official Ghost Signal Twitter account tweeted saying, hey, we have a demo downloaded. They didn't say, hey, our demo's been fixed. So I don't 100% know it's been fixed, but it was strange that we got that update and then they said, hey, we have a demo. Check it out. Oh, right. Danorama says the demo's still broken. That sucks. I'm sorry, guys. But I will say, for $20,
it's a
fantastic deal.
If unless you're completely adverse to these kind of games. Right. But it's a game that, as much as I love Brian's review, but he had the similar issue to what I think the trailers do. Yep. It's just a game that's really hard to communicate how it feels until you're in it. And there's a lot of stuff is with VR, but the music, the atmosphere, I think is a big part. Like the game mechanics and that I love, but honestly, just the sense of presence. Like the music repeats quite a lot, but despite that and how many hours, you always feel this sense of like, we're on a journey. Like the aesthetic of this game is just wonderful.
Yep. There's a lot about this that reminds me of Spelunky, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I made a lot of Spelunky comparisons in my Cosmo Dread review. This is far closer and far deeper because it is really a roguelite, and you are constantly upgrading your ships and constantly making progression, no matter how even if you have the worst run ever, you're still coming back and that run wasn't a waste because you probably are able to upgrade something permanently. So, big fan of this. I'm easily going to dump another 10, 15 hours into this before I finally put it down, which means that, what's that, close to 40 hours by the time I finally decide to say I'm done. However, I know that even just saying that was heart-wrenching for you to hear, Miles, because what happened to you?
It genuinely pains me to talk about this. So I did a Let's Play of it yesterday. And when you play Ghost Signal, you have 4 save slots. And I know some of you are like, oh, I know what's coming. You have 4 save slots. So I had my main save slot, which had about 10 hours on it. I think it says I've done about 17 journeys. I think I'd, with exceptions to like the cosmetics and a few other nodes, I'd completed like 3 of the different research trees. And I was threat level 6 out of 10, so I was well on the way.
Damn.
I really wanted to go for the platinum trophy. And so I did the Let's Play, but I did a new save slot. And the reason why was because when I do my Let's Plays, I like to show them from the beginning, so people that don't have too much spoilt. And it was kind of fun, actually, starting from the beginning, from scratch, having learnt the controls already. And I got pretty close to the end, and then there was just a bit where I just couldn't outrun a lot, and then my shields were down and all the little ships got me. So I played that for about, I played for about an hour. And so I went back to the main menu. Actually, maybe it was like an hour and 10, because I'd done all the tutorial and stuff like that. Went back to the main menu, and then I thought, you know what, I'll just show the skill tree and everything I've unlocked, show the threat levels and things like that. So I go to the saved, the save slots, and slot 2 was what I was playing on, and there was my slot 1, had all the data on it. 17 journeys, 9 to 10 hours played. I click on it, I click on open, and then it starts the game, but then it does like the tutorial at the beginning, which I thought was a bit weird, so I quickly skipped through it, and I was like, this is weird, abandoned the tutorial mission, go back to the main menu, and the skill trees are blank, and I'm like, okay, it hasn't loaded it. So I then go to the save slots, and what do I find? Both save slots say 1 journey each, like under an hour. So I've basically lost my game. And I know some game cats were like, oh, you can start again, thinking that I just started playing that day. No, I'd spent entire days playing this, and doing it. And for anyone that wants to watch me in pain, it won't be clip of the week, but I'll put in the chat now the timestamp. It's actually the tweet with the timestamp. I did flag it up with Fast Travel Games, and the Ghost Signal VR Twitter account did respond to me and said, what did they say? Haha. I think they said ha 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 ha. No, they didn't. They said, we forwarded this. Hopefully we can find a solution soon. Look, in an ideal world, Brian, I would love for them to say, we're going to fix it for other people. Obviously, I want that to happen. And here is a save file with enough credits to just pick up where you've left off. I don't care that I'd have to redo the first set of missions again to unlock I'd still have to do all the threats, wouldn't I?
Yeah. From
1 to 6 again, but that I could probably stomach. But if I have to start from the go, it's just one of those shames. I love this game. I would have easily put, like you said, tens of hours more into it to find out the end of the story, and maybe I will one day, like in the new year or something. But it's just one of those things of right now I can't stomach it, and I kind of you shouldn't get uptight about games and that, but you invest time into it. It's not just when people buy games and that, obviously we were given game key, so I can't apply that here, right. But you invest time, and the idea that I've now got to like literally redo it's a grind. That's what roguelites are. It's about grinding to upgrade your stuff so you can get further into the game. The fact I'm going to have to do it and complete it another at least 7 times to get to where I was before.
Yeah, maybe when enough time has gone past and the pain isn't so recent, and there's another, maybe there'll be a gaming lull in like 3 or 4 months once we've gotten caught up on all the games coming in October, November, and December. Giving yourself enough time and coming back to it and saying, all right, I'm ready to start this mission over again. By mission, I mean 10 hours of your life, more sirens on my end.
Chris in the chat says cloud saves are there for a reason, and I totally agree. And I did check the cloud save, but I don't, unless I'm doing it wrong, the cloud save updated with that version that I just played. So unfortunately, someone says I've got that auto upload turned off. So, but then eventually you're going to forget, and then it's never going to back up saves. So I don't know what the middle ground is. Like, is there a way? It'd be cool if there was a feature maybe to like delay cloud saves by a few hours. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But sorry, Brian. Yeah.
No, I got nothing. My concern is that this is going to affect your thoughts when it comes to the next top 25 list, because for me,
it's a top 25 for me. Yeah. At this current stage, and I will fight for it. Despite that.
Well, hopefully our other 2 cast members are on board with that as well. And hopefully, even more so, Fast Travel Games gets these things worked out, so it doesn't happen to anyone else, and it doesn't happen to you again when you decide to get back in there. Because a game like this that's just so enjoyable to play, and seriously, I think I said it in my review, but it's the kind of game where you go sit on your couch. You don't go to your play area. You get you cozy up on your couch. You put the headset on and you get comfortable. And next thing you know, 4 hours has gone by, and it's just wonderful. So having something like that kind of tarnishes such a great experience is really upsetting. But hopefully they'll get that taken care of soon.
And it's a bitter poetic kind of thing, which is the only reason I lost that save game was because I went out of my way to kind of showcase the game. Like, what I love about it. And as I said, I've linked the tweet with the timestamp in it. You can just watch me in real time, realize what's happened, and you watch me keep it together, because I genuinely wanted to go, fuck this. And instead, I had to end my live stream as I always do. I say had to. It's how I like to do it. I end with my final thoughts. And I was like, gritting my teeth going, as I said, love this game. It's very good. There's lots to grind for and stuff like that. And inside my head, I'm like, no. Looper, the Underground Game Cat, said in the chat, and I'm just saying this is a public service for everyone else. Yeah. It doesn't sync the cloud unless you close the game. Rypop mentions to me in Discord to try it after I'd switched off my PS5 anyway. So the middle ground is disable the auto upload as soon as you find a bug before closing the game. Obviously, I wish I'd known that, and that's a really great tip. So for anyone else, and also to anyone playing the game, to be honest, I can't imagine there's many instances where people are going to have multiple saves. Mine was a very sort of unique situation.
Sure.
But yeah, it sucks, but I love the game. And the other reason of I come back to it is just the fact there's just so many VR games that you're going to play. So yeah, maybe one day I'll come back to it. But I was really excited to get to the end and also go for the plat, because it's got a lot of trophies. There's a lot of interesting trophies as well, which I love it when games have built into it the achievements. So you can actually go into an achievement screen in the data screen and it will show you what they are, and they relate to trophies. So it's things like complete a run without spending any scrap or without upgrading any of your components and things like that. So that's good. That's good.
Macho, the real estate procrastinating game cat with a $2 tip says, to our game cat running, aka JP, keep going, bud. We're here.
You got this, dude.
Yep, 2 hours. And
we'll probably leave you for the last hour, though. We hope you're all right with that.
yeah. I did not intend this to be. I mean, there was definitely a vibe at the beginning of the show where we're just going to put up our feet and talk about what we ate for lunch. So we were in no rush to get out of here tonight. However, 4 hours definitely not going to be a thing. Macho with real estate procrastinating game cat with another $2 tip says, next topic, rank in order October games we're most excited about. I've actually got to bring up the list in Discord because I can't even think of all of them, to be honest with you. But I will tell you.
I can say off the bat the ones that I'm definitely most anticipate, like the ones coming around the corner.
Okay.
Happy Funland is actually one I'm really excited for, because I just feel it is going to be a spooky, but I think it's going to have quite a charming, funny quirk to it.
Yeah.
The tennis game, absolutely excited for. And you know what? Although I keep on saying how much I'm going to hate playing it, I think Madison is going to be one of the most incredible VR experiences I've ever had.
I feel like you're hyping this thing up so much, right?
I am.
I think the advertising has really worked on you. The scientifically most scariest game ever made, and I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. Based on what I've played on Switch, at least, I'll tell you, if they put Emily Wants to Play into VR, that game almost gave me 17 heart attacks on the flat screen.
Okay.
If they put Emily Wants to Play into VR, I don't know if I'd be able to play it. I might die. But yeah, as far as October is concerned, dude, I think a lot of people are being extremely cautious about Ghostbusters VR.
Yep.
But End Dreams has really not let us down. And so I think Ghostbusters is very high on my list for something that I'm excited for, mostly because I've always wanted to be a Ghostbuster, and I get to get in there and be a Ghostbuster with my friends. That's you, Miles. So that's going to be really exciting. And
Phasmophobia is going to be great.
In Phasmo, for the exact same reasons. Those are probably the two highest on my list, and which is strange because I am, notoriously before VR came along, a single player adventure gamer. So, so the fact that the two I'm most excited about are ones that are primarily multiplayer focused. Very interesting change of pace.
Well, I know you were saying like clearly the marketing's working on me. I've just sent you a clip. I don't know if you're going to be able to play it. It's a vertical video, but this was shared by Alex, the developer of Madison. They had actually Madison VR at a Argentinian gaming event, and he shared this on his Instagram of someone playing it. And I think this reaction is just absolutely amazing. I'm glad it ends with a smile, because if it ended with just a scream, I'd be like, there's no way I'm playing this.
Miles, while I'm trying to bring that up on the screen, do me a favor and pronounce that GameCat's name that I just sent you.
Danarama Pajama, the geeky game meow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. Have I passed the test?
I don't know. People in chat wanted to hear you say it, and so that is a thing that.
Do you say pajamas? Do you say pajamas or pajamas?
I say pajama. But I also say Danarama, so it actually rhymes no matter how we say it. When you say Danarama pajama, and I say Danarama pajama, it actually rhymes. It was when he added the word llama to his screen name that didn't work for me at all, because I was like Danarama pajama llama. I was like, those three things don't rhyme, but it would if you said it. You
don't say llama.
I try not to.
Did you not? Is there not a kid show over there of bananas in pajamas?
Oh yeah, bananas in pajamas.
You say
coming down the stairs.
Bananas, bananas.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, what are we looking at here? Hold on, I hate you so much for sending me a portrait.
Oh, dude, this is what he put on Instagram. This is someone playing Madison VR that's been showcased at an Argentinian, because he's based in Argentina, gaming event.
Okay,
and
so
her scream
are we supposed to be listening to this?
Yeah, is there a sound? Because the scream is amazing.
Here,
it's a genuinely frightened.
Let me turn up the sound here so everyone can hear. Was that it? Was it like a 5-second clip?
Yeah, it's a very short clip.
Oh, wow.
But I think in that short period of time, like, that is genuine startling. Yeah. I'd like the idea that there are going to be people playing that didn't even know what Madison was. Like, oh, it's a horror game. That'll be fun.
Right.
But you're right. I think the more you know about it, the more you're going to be hyped up about it. And it's all mind games and stuff.
Oops. Did I forget to turn it down? Hold on a second. No, I turned it back down. Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited because I purposefully didn't play the whole game on Switch, because I was like, oh shit, it's coming to VR. I obviously want to play. I obviously want my real first experience to be in VR, and the fact that they've added all these VRAF mechanics are just, man, I think it's gonna be real good.
There is something that happens in the Madison story, which I'm not obviously going to say for spoiler reasons, but it is going to be something I genuinely. There's stuff I'm curious to know if they're going to do in VR, because, that's all I'm going to say, is just that when you port stuff to VR, it's just different playing it on a flat screen. And I've always talked about this in the past with horror games, about the morality of it, and I don't mean that in a sort of holier than now perspective of we need good Christian children playing VR games, but like it does stuff to your body when you get anxious.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, I feel this is a game that's really going to push it, because and the reason this game freaks me out is because I know what makes me tick in VR, and I've sort of mentioned this before in previous games. Stuff that gets in your personal space and moves fast at you and gets at you. There haven't really been many VR games that does that up to now. And I'll be curious to see how they do that from the flat screen game, because the jump scare clips I've seen stuff comes at you very quickly and it gets right in your face. Stuff is literally grabbing onto you. I mean, there was a bit of that in like the space spiders in Cosmodread, but this is way worse. This is way worse.
Big time.
Miles should say llama in Alabama.
Alabama.
I did.
Llama.
Alabama.
Pajama.
Llama in Alabama.
Alabama. Mad Vegan.
I like the idea that JP is running and then suddenly hears these screams.
Mad Vegan with a $5 tip says currently hiking in Australia's Tower Hill while on holiday and have seen kangaroo, koala, and emu so far. Thanks for providing a kick-ass soundtrack. Wow, what have we done? What have we done? Okay, we got Macho again. Macho, real estate procrastinating game cat with $2 tip says you could have been with us not running in your VR headset. You could have been with us not running in your VR headset. Why do I feel like I always have to decipher Macho's tips? Like to dissect them and put them back together again. I don't know. I got to think about that one. Miles, as much as it's going to disappoint most people in the chat, how are you? Are you ready for a game of 20 questions?
I am ready for a game of 20 questions, Brian. And dude, we've done 3 of the 4 hours. Yeah. So that's fine. JP can put some music on for the final sprint. I mean, I wouldn't suggest sprinting for the final hour. Let's keep the good pace that you've got going.
What songs can we sing to JP to get him across not the finish line, but onto the final leg of his race?
We could hum the Rocky theme. You
know, I've never seen a Rocky movie. Oh, man.
I kind of started doing it and went, actually, I can't remember how this goes.
Shout to the heart, and you're too late.
I had a tiger, Looper says. Yeah, this is great.
This is give love a bad name. Yeah, I the Tiger would be great. Yeah, it's gonna be just like the generic
Don't stop me
80s, early 90s stuff.
Good time.
Oh, I think we're gonna tornadoes here. What's up, buddy? Okay. All right, man. Let's do some 20 questions. Everybody, it's Miles' turn to pick, so help me out in the chat. Make sure you. Yeah. Do you have a game picked out?
Oh, I have a game, Brian. I have a game. I say that as I'm trying to think of a game, but I've got of a game. I've thought of a game.
Okay, good. Well, in that case, we only have 20 yes or no questions and only 6 minutes on the clock to figure out what game Miles is thinking of. I'm going to put a little yes column and a little no column here. Guys, help me out. Dude, Wednesdays was tough. It was me and Wes guessing.
That was a brutal round.
Right? And it's
was it Aspire? Was it Aspire? No, it wasn't.
It was. And I wasn't going to say the name in case somebody hadn't watched it yet. So way to ruin it, Miles.
Sorry.
No, I'm
sorry. You could have denied it. You could have said it wasn't that.
Could have denied it. Absolutely.
Go on and deny it. Was it Aspire?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Okay. But as much as people in the chat were like, I've never heard of this, or that's a deep cut, for us it wasn't. That was a much anticipated game. And so the fact that neither Wes or I had help, man. I had Wes on my side, and we still couldn't figure it out. That's bad news, man. That means this game is fucking hard sometimes. All right, dude. I'm going to put 6 minutes up on the clock. Everybody in the chat, help me out. Let's do this. Where is that clock? There it is. On your mark. It does. Go. Have we mentioned in the 3-hour show that we've done today, Miles? Have we mentioned this game?
Oh, what a question, Brian. What a question. No, we haven't.
Okay. That eliminates about 40 games. Okay. Is this on PSVR2?
It is, Brian.
Is this also on PSVR 1?
It's not, Brian.
Okay, so PSVR2 only. Is it... I'm going to go with Markio here. Is it single player?
It has a single player.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a multiplayer component.
Correct.
Okay.
I've given you more than I should have done. But I couldn't have just said yes if there's also a multiplayer mode.
True.
I mean, I could have done, but
you
that'd
can
be
that as
pretty
another
evil.
question if you feel like it. You know, just trying to make sure we're clear on our answers here.
We'll keep it with just 4. You've had 4. That's good.
Okay. Is this a cartoony game?
I would say so. Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, this is gonna be a big, broad question. Do you shoot any kind of projectiles? Gun, magic, arrows? Do you fire projectiles?
No. No, you
Okay.
don't. 6.
Okay. Would you say... Did you get the platinum in this game?
No. Good question though. 7.
Miles, off... I've got a sidebar here for you. Did you get the toss platinum?
I did.
Okay, so it's not toss, you guys. That's where my head was at.
I'm not counting that though. I'm not counting that.
That was a sidebar. That was a completely different question. Yeah,
Okay.
that was like not even part of the game.
Okay.
Oh, good question, GC13. Oh, but you know what? We talked about like every rhythm game today, so I don't think it could be a rhythm game. Okay, everyone wants to know if it's the math game. Is there math in this game?
Oh, let's not talk about that. It's not though, and I'm really sad because they've done a big update and the trophies still aren't working for me.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. I want to get that plat.
It can't be Demio because in Demio you do fire
this game.
projectiles because even if it's magic. Do you? It can't be Kayak because it's a cartoony game. Would this be a contender for a top 25 list?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
9.
We kind of just determined that there's a multiplayer component of some kind in here. Is the multiplayer component PvP?
Sorry, what was the question?
Is the multiplayer aspect of this game, is it competitive PvP?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. That's 10. You're halfway there. Whoa, halfway there. Well, actually, you're over halfway now, JP.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Nice. Would you call this a type of sport?
Yeah. 11.
Does this sport take place in outer space?
Nah, 12.
All right, not C-Smash, you guys. It's a sport. Could Broken Edge be considered a sport? I guess fencing is technically a sport. Sword fighting is a sport. Is this game all about poking your opponent's giant sword with your giant sword?
It is about jamming your opponent with your sword, Brian.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was a much better way of saying it. Let's just get this. Let's get this out of the way. Is this Broken Edge?
Penetration. Yeah.
Wow. Is this Broken Edge?
Broken Edge it is, Brian. Well
Nice.
done.
Well done, chat.
It is Broken Edge, and well done to Silver Nexus, who got it quite early on. I always get nervous when someone says it early on. I'm like, please don't.
Yeah, there's too much going on in my head. So when somebody says it early on, I'm not paying attention. I'm like just thinking about good questions.
That's the thing. It's 1 out of like 40 suggestions in the chat, but that one is staring out at me. And like for you, it's just like one of many things. So yeah.
Nick Mulo says movie watching's a sport.
That is true.
So anything could be a sport, I guess.
Virtual strangers. You guys seriously still live? What the fuck? Yeah, we promised JP we'd keep him company for his marathon run. And he's coming up to 3 hours.
And we're trying to dethrone virtual strangers as the most long-winded podcast about VR on the internet. We're coming for you, Wes. We're coming for you. But
well
that
done,
being
Brian.
said,
well done, GameCats. Well done, Silver Nexus.
Always a good time. Congratulations, Silver Nexus, and everybody who pointed me in the right direction, because I swear my brain just goes blank every single time we play this. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. This was a really good time. I can hear my voice going as we speak, but it's cool. I'm super excited because, dude, there's so much good stuff happening. There's a couple games coming out next week. I've got games that I'm still trying to get caught up on reviewing. Honestly, I'll tell you what I want to do tonight. It's not go. I don't even want to go watch a horror movie. I don't want to go. I don't want to go play any VR. That's not true. I do want to play VR. What I want to do is I want to play like another 4 hours of Ghost Signal. That's what I really want to do tonight.
I would be doing that if said thing hadn't happened.
If it wasn't 2 o'clock in the morning for you.
My plan is tomorrow, Brian. There's 5 games I could play tomorrow. Waltz of the Wizard, Paper Beast, Pixel Rip 1995, Gazla, and VR Pigeons.
You gonna do all those? All 5?
I'm gonna do just 3. I think I'm gonna do Waltz of the Wizard, Gazla, and then one other. Paper Beast maybe, or Pixel Ripped.
I feel like Waltz of the Wizard is very low energy.
Is it? Okay.
Because it's all about kind of like walking around, fucking around with shit, and like kind of just
I might start tomorrow with that then, because I like to sort of build it up. So I'll start with Waltz of the Wizard, then Gazla, I think is quite a good mid-tier one, and then end on.
I would say don't do Paper Beast. That was my suggestion, because if you're gonna do Waltz of the Wizard, Paper Beast I feel like is the same kind of level of walking around going, what am I doing next?
Right.
You know.
I mean, I still have loads of other games that are on my list, but because I'm just looking at the ones that have just come out. Yeah, man, so many. I think I've done about 90 Let's Plays so far. So
that's insane. I was surprised when I played Pixel Rip 95 that I didn't want to stop playing. I was like, I was having fun just in that first area when you're sitting in the living room and you're playing the Super Nintendo game, and your mom walks in and your dad walks in, the neighbors yelling at you through the window. Like I was so happy to be back there. And 95 is, I don't know. I guess it always kind of paled in comparison to 89 for me. But I may be coming around on it. It may be the best game in the series, but I guess I have to wait for an 89 remaster to come.
Right.
Along.
Yeah. 95 was always my favorite, but I always put that to the fact that I didn't play the first one when it first came out, because I got PSVR after it, and also 95 is more aligned with my experience growing up. I was a Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis as it was called in the US, and Sega Master System player.
See, not to go down too deep of a rabbit hole while we're trying to wrap up the show, but I agree with you. Like, I absolutely love that generation of gaming, and the fact that they included PS1 kind of near the end of it, and they did such a, in my opinion, a bad job of representing those games, because they do such a good job of representing the Game Boy games, of the Super Nintendo games, and then they added Pixel Rip 95 should have had a Doom game in it. A Doom game. That was the year of Doom. Right. It would have been great. And you do stand around these environments firing in first person. It's like, just let us play something that resembles Doom in first person. They did a lot of that in 78, which doesn't make any sense, but they didn't do it in 95. And then on top of that, the PlayStation 1 games, the games that are supposed to resemble like Crash Bandicoot or whatever that was near the end, were just like, just really, I didn't think very well done at all. And so that, I think that kind of tarnished my thoughts on the game, maybe a little bit more than it should have, unfortunately.
Didn't 95 get an add-on for PSVR so you could play the first game within it? I swear they did it on the main menu, that you could play the first game in 95.
I remember they did that on the Quest. I don't remember them doing it for PSVR, but they could have.
Okay. Because I think they did add it. And if they did add it, does that mean we can play the first game on PSVR2? Because it's now on the 95 one. So let's find out. Find out. Yeah.
Steve Irie and Scott were saying 94 was Doom 2. Oh, so even more so.
Right.
Even more so. I was actually concerned that Doom was maybe too new in 95, but even more so that Doom 2 was firing all cylinders for a year or whatever. So the fact is yeah, it 100% should have been there because this was the evolution of gaming at that point. Anyway, not the point. All right, Miles. Thank you so much for being here and spending the last 3 hours with me. JP, hopefully your run is going really, really well. Good luck on the last leg, the last stretch of it. Hopefully it's going well.
Yeah.
Guys, before you take off, make sure that you check the description of this video and click on Miles' YouTube channel, subscribe to him. He's got a lot of Let's Plays happening tomorrow. He's got a lot of Let's Plays that if you are not subscribed to him, you've got hours and hours and hours to catch up on. Days, potentially, of Let's Plays to catch up on. So make sure you do that. Also, make sure you join us over on Discord. We're going to do some Walkabout mini golf this Sunday over on Discord. And so make sure you get involved in that. Best community of all time. If you're not a member of our community, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Something horrible must have happened, but for that, we apologize. Thank you to everybody out there who supports the channel financially, everybody who supports us on patreon.com/withoutprogames, everyone who's a member over here, everyone who sends tips during the show. I swear, all of you guys are how I keep the lights on. There's no question about it. I appreciate you much more than you'll ever know. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who hangs out during the show, keeps us entertained while we try to keep you entertained, helps during 20 questions, and everybody who sits back and watches the show and doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Happy Friday, Miles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, GameCats. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Biscuit tea.
Miles, we weren't doing so great doing clip of the weeks, or clips of the week.
We have a clip of the week, do we?
We do, in fact, have a clip of the week. I want to point out that because I think context is very important with this one. So this is coming from Jay the Foveated Rendered Gamecat.
Love it.
Which it doesn't roll off the tongue, but it's a great name. And he's competing in this clip against you. So. Even though this isn't the most amazing clip ever, like it's very quick. I just thought it was fun because it's seldom that we get to see you play from a third person perspective.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Ready? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
That's it.
That's it, man. That's it. See, super fast, super simple. And really, it reminds me how much I love Toss. Toss is such a fun game. Despite it's one of those games that, despite the fact that I gave it a 6.5, which doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not bad. It's a good game, decent game.
I love Toss. And if they add to it new missions, I will be going back to that game.
Yeah. I think I will too, and I'm always a little bit concerned that maybe I underrated it. Like it could, maybe a 7 would be more appropriate because I do have good feelings when I think about that game quite a bit. So, all right, you guys, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you very soon. We love you all.
Bye bye.